remotely. Present in the room, we have John Ray, Mike Tejan, Laura Zeiton, and myself, Julianne Hirsch. For a remote participant, we have Jacob Jones. And Jacob, can you hear us? And we'd like to hear you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is Jacob Jones. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Thanks, and we can hear you. Okay, so first on the agenda is a public hearing to consider poll petition 3117-1627 on Meadow Road. This is to consider the petition of Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid for permission to install one SO pole on Meadow Road beginning approximately 475 feet northeast of the intersection of Meadow Road and Forest Avenue and continuing about 20 feet east, with the proposed pole P4-2 to be located approximately 100 feet northwest of existing pole P4-1 to provide electric service to a new dwelling. Discussion, and then we will have a discussion and a possible vote. Josh, we have our Assistant DPW Director here to explain this to us, and then we'll take comments from the public, since this is a public hearing.
Hello,
Hi.
thanks for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
So this is about the installation of a new utility pole at the end of Meadow Street. There was recently an ADU built there, and the purpose of the pole is to supply electrical service to the new ADU. This will be in the cul-de-sac of Meadow Road. The pole is going to be located approximately 10 feet off of the driveway for 23 Meadow Road. It's in an area with no sidewalk. There's no berm there. It's town property, but there's no easements or anything located there. The location of the pole is not going to create any new hazards or risks for pedestrians, vehicles, or public works operations. After doing an inspection on the site and also looking at the new ADU and the setup, I don't believe there's going to be any issues safety-wise with this pole. So I would recommend that the Select Board approves this pole petition.
Are there any questions or comments? Laura?
I just have a quick question. I know that sometimes when these would come up, there's tension in the wires. Is this going to cause any additional tension? Is there going to be any leaning? Is it?
No, this is just going to be a pole. There's no additional guy wires associated with it. It's going to run one electric service. I'm not sure if there's going to be any communications infrastructure related with that, but it's not carrying a lot of other utilities.
And it's not going to affect the existing power lines?
No,
Okay.
Oh, and will it be shut off on the street for a while? Electricity will it be
No.
cut off? Oh,
no,
okay.
they'll be
Oh,
able to
that's
do this
great.
work with everything live.
So I just drove down there. It's going to be like to the left of the ADU?
Yes.
There's a kind of a big open space there.
Yep, there's a stake there that's painted white with some red on the top, and that's going to be the proposed location.
Okay, I just have a general question.
Yep.
With is this something unique to this ADU or with?
Yeah, I believe this is unique to this ADU. I'm not sure what type of service the original house has at 23, but it might not be enough to pull from that house over to the new ADU. So I'm thinking it's just one-off type of thing. I don't believe these are going to come up for every ADU.
Okay. All right, well, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who has any comments? Pat, do you see anybody who wants to comment remotely? I do not. Okay.
Were there any abutters that responded?
No.
Then-
So this is for an ADU,
Yes.
and just how you don't think it's going to be common is what I heard, but
No.
the reason it's required is because the ADU. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be upgrading it if it wasn't for the ADU.
No.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Matt, do you want to comment on the public hearing? Hi, Matt.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thanks for joining.
Yeah, so I'm Matt Hubbard. I'm the homeowner at 23 Meadow Road. So it is my ADU that we're building. So it's for my parents, so I can speak a little bit to some of those questions. We were originally intending to do power through our home, but this was a National Grid recommendation to go with a separate pole.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for commenting on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you can do it through the regular primary residence, but sounded like, I think just the distance, it seemed like they wanted to do it this way.
Okay, great. Okay, anyone else? Then is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Motion made by Jacob, seconded by Laura. We have to vote to close the public hearing. All in favor that we do roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, and then is there a motion to approve this poll? John?
Yep. I move that the board vote to approve poll petition 311-71627 for Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid, to install one SO pole on Meadow Road, beginning approximately 470 feet northeast of the intersection of Meadow Road and Forest Avenue, and continuing about 20 feet east, with the proposed pole P.4-2 to be located approximately 100 feet northwest of existing pole P.4-1 to provide electric service to a new dwelling.
Second?
Motion made by John, seconded by Laura. John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, would you like to come to a microphone? It's a continued information session about White Cliffs.
My name's Rich Correa, and I'll answer any questions anybody has as to where we are in the process or where we're trying to move this forward. It's a very, very exciting project, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you mind if I give a recap over the way the lease
gosh,
looks right
yes,
now?
please.
Because last time we had a public information session, we were like, so what do you want to talk about? And this will definitely help with the convo. Okay, so it's for a wedding event venue. The lease terms we have, I have a handout, and I just want to stress that the lease agreement has not yet been finalized, but we're really close, and on the handout, it will say where we're still negotiating. Is Katie Klein on?
Yep.
Oh, hi, Katie.
Yes.
So Katie is
Good evening.
the town's attorney from KP Law, so she helps us. She's been working diligently and received a lot of information back today, which is why I'm scurrying a little bit. So let's see, the lease terms for rent, it would be, first off, a 40-year lease. At year 10, there would be, after year 10, there would be an option to purchase. So the rent looks like year one, $7,000, year two, $14,000, year three, $21,000, year four, $28,000, year 5 through 10, $35,000. And then after year 10, the tenant has the option to purchase. And then year 11, it would be $35,000 plus a 3% annual escalator, and that portion is under negotiation right now. We have the option to purchase, which is also under negotiation. Everything's really close, but we're, still fine tuning. After year 10, they can elect to purchase the property, and the purchase price will be the higher of either, number one, the appraised value at the time of purchase, minus the value of capital improvements made by Elegant Banquets, and the value of any accessory building constructed. They want to possibly build a ceremonial building in the back, which could be for meetings or, like I said, ceremonies. And the Second option is $2.4 million. We purchased the property through CPA funds for a 1.7, and then we've had some capital costs like the roof, the chimney. So it's about 2.4 million. Plus interest at an agreed upon rate, so that's in negotiations right now, accruing from the date of the lease through the date of purchase. The town and Elegant Banquets will jointly select a licensed appraiser within 20 days of the purchase notice. The appraisal will be completed within 60 days. Appraisal costs will be shared equally between both parties. And then we get to other revenue being real and personal property tax. In year 1 and year 2, we're looking to give them a TIF agreement because they will be investing anywhere from $8 to $12 million into the property. For real property tax, that's where the TIF will be personal property tax just in the first year. So years 1 and 2 for real property and year 1 for personal property. The second year of personal property, the tax exemption would be 75%. And then the third year, both would be 50%. The fourth year, both would go down to 25% exemptions. And then year 5, we're not exempting the taxes anymore. In addition to this, we have meal tax revenue. So Northborough receives a local meals tax of 75 cents per $100 in food sales. I think, Rich, don't quote me, is it 35,000 around, maybe?
Probably higher.
Okay, or higher,
Or
but
higher.
I like to always be very conservative with my numbers, so. Public benefits preserve White Cliffs under permanent deed restriction without taxpayer-funded operations, so it's a triple net lease. So they will incur all costs from insurances to maintenance to everything keeping the lights on. And that deed restriction is in perpetuity. So it goes on forever, even if they decide to sell, and we can go over that, but if they decide to sell, the town gets first right of refusal. Let's see, it provides new recurring revenue to the town through rent, meals tax, property taxes. It repays the CPA funds and town capital investments if the property is purchased. It stimulates the local economy through events, weddings, tourism. Protects and revitalizes one of Northborough's most iconic historic landmarks. Some pros and cons. If the lease is approved, we have, of course, I'm looking at a lot of economic benefits to this. I think it's known anyway as a landmark, and then once they start getting busy and, people will say, oh, I've been to Northborough. Northborough's great. Let's go to Northborough. Businesses will say the same. So it's a win-win for us. And if the lease is not approved right now, we're currently putting in anywhere from, I believe it's around $50,000 to just maintain it. And this is not maintaining. It's fixing leaks and, plowing and overhead of insurance costs. So the building is at the point where if somebody doesn't take it over, it's only going to be worse and worse and worse. We don't want that to happen. Let's see, I think the historic, I wanted to go over a little bit of the, oh no, I did. I already went over that. Let's see, the historic deed restriction. In summary, what is being protected, so the building's being protected, the land around it is being protected. There's a Purple Beach that's very important that we aim to keep. You wanted to cut it, no, I'm just kidding. Never,
That's a wedding
never.
tree.
That's the wedding tree. That's where your pictures are gonna be made. Yes. The owners must keep the exterior and interior features in good condition, follow Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation, notify and get approval from Town Historical Commission before making any changes. what is not allowed without permission, demolishing, of course, moving, removing parts of the building, constructing new buildings or structures on the property unless approved, putting up barriers, fences, anything that wasn't in the plans in the beginning. Everything needs permission from the town. Of course, dumping trash, and that's where we're talking to Historic New England right now. So since the town owns the White Cliffs, we can't hold our own deed. It's a conflict of interest. So they would be holder of the deed, and they would do annual inspections. They'd make sure that the building's in good condition. They'd make sure, there's no dumping or leaving cars, anything that would deteriorate from the property. Let's see, what changes? So, yeah, any alterations, what the owner can still do, they can, of course, maintain and repair. They can make changes to the interior, except for any listed features, like, of course, all the woodwork and the beautiful fireplaces. Not that they would want to, but everything will be listed within the deed restriction. They'll be allowed to, keep utilities updated, install approved signage. Let's see. Enforcement, so, the historical commission will enforce, our deed holder, the town. The duration is in perpetuity, so that's forever, all future owners. The sale or transfer, the owner must notify the town before selling the property. Again, we would get the first right of refusal. The town can explain any restrictions to the new buyer. The new owner inherits all the same obligations. And that's it, in a nutshell. Okay.
I have a question. Does the Historic New England, the deed restriction holder, have to approve the design of the ballroom?
It's pretty much the outside, because that was a modern feature of the building, so that's not under their historic, except the outside, they want it to blend in nicely with the existing building.
Did you want to say something about that?
No, just that,
Okay.
we're interviewing architects, and we're being very thoughtful of the building, and preserving the mansion and bringing that back to its former glory.
Right, okay. All right, any questions from the board or comments? All sounds,
The only question I had, you mentioned the town has a right to buy it back. What section was that
That's what
again?
we're putting in. Well, that might be newer since you've seen the lease.
So we have some negotiated points that we'll look at in executive session.
Yeah, Katie, do you want to speak? Yeah.
Yeah, in the option that comes into effect in the 11th year, I've added a right of first refusal. So in the event that the Elegant Banquets, or whatever the name of the entity is, goes to sell that after it buys it, the town would have a right of first refusal to meet a third-party offer. There's no obligation to do so, but I thought it might be beneficial. I mean, given the importance of this building to the town, that I just added that, and Attorney Antonellis had no objection to that.
Understood. Yeah, the one point that I wasn't clear that we're totally there yet, and maybe again, we have to meet in executive session, is if whether we put that option there or not, and put a price on it.
Right.
So, okay.
Yep.
Everything else was consistent with how I remember.
Yeah, that was the new, in your email, you saw there were separate attachments.
Yep.
That was within one of those. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jacob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two really quick comments. One is a comment/question. I think it's fairly obvious, but I just want our minutes and our record to be clear. Part of, I believe, what the town and our council are working on is to make sure that, since this is the disposition of town property, that the town's getting a fair deal, because we need, obviously, to do that. And my belief is this is absolutely, as it's been presented, a fair deal for the town. And So, but that's, for those wondering why, we're going through this effort is, of course, it's a disposition of town property. It went through the RFP process, and we're just making sure it's a fair deal for the town. The second comment, I guess, it's been said, and I just want to make sure we're being really clear about this. And I know we have the planning board. We're waiting to hear back from them. I think they're continued their meeting. With respect to whatever the use change is that we go with, one thing I want to emphasize is that my belief is that making this project be an acceptable use on this property is 100% consistent with the Massachusetts Zoning Act, particularly historic preservation, which I think is one of the community purposes. I believe that this is the way to accomplish historic preservation for this property. So that's just my opinion. Wanted to make sure that was in our records.
Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone in the audience who would like to ask questions, make comments? Would you mind coming to the, and even though we know where you live and your name, would you please state it for the record?
This is my first time on this side of the podium in a while.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Mitch Cohen, 12 Whitney Street. Rich, great to see you again. I will start off by saying this is a great project. This is, I think, exactly what the town was hoping would happen when the town purchased the property or approved the purchase of the property back in 2016. It took longer than anyone wanted it to, so I wish you would come 5 or 7 years earlier, but thank you very much for being here. So I really have no concerns about the project. This is the first time that I, as a member of the public, have seen any details about the lease agreement, and I think that's where devil is in the details, if you will, whatever, that are important. I have a number of questions about the lease agreement. I am certain that you're not going to be able to answer them all here. Do you want me to read them all, or read one at a time, and then someone here or Attorney Klein can answer if they want, or I can
How
move
many
on?
questions are there?
9.
I'd do one by one. and-
Yeah, oh, definitely one by one.
Okay.
We'll forget. Fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
I didn't know if you had time restrictions or anything else. Are there going to be construction bonds or any sort of bonds in place should Elegant Banquets
Yes.
go belly up? Not that I think
Exactly.
you'd do that, Rich,
Yep.
but if something
Right.
happened,
There will be performance bonds, yes.
performance bonds.
Yep.
Great. Okay. And once that agreement, I don't expect you to tell me the details on that, but I'll be curious to read those once they come out.
Yes, yep.
What protections are in place for the neighbors? I'm thinking visual. There are going to be many of the neighbors that weren't there when White Cliffs operated previously.
Right. We reached out to everyone on Stratton Way and Warren,
Yep.
and we're meeting with them Wednesday evening.
Oh, good.
John and I.
Okay.
So we've invited them to come and sit down. We'll answer all their questions. And,
Excellent. That's good.
we-
Yeah.
We don't want to be a burden to them, and they don't want to burden either.
Yeah, the things that I would, I'm not one of the neighbors, but what that I would expect to see is, what protections are there visually from the cars coming in and out and anything that's happening outside, particularly in the evening?
Can we make a little plug for that? That's Wednesday,
It's Wednesday,
here, right?
in the room.
The
downstairs.
downstairs
Yeah,
conference
downstairs.
room at what time?
It's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. So if any neighbors.
6 o'clock. First floor,
Can
first room on the right.
non-neighbors come?
Pardon me? We've reached out to the neighbors to go ask the rest of their neighbors on Stratton Way.
It's like the game telephone.
Yes, exactly.
Noise is, of course, going to be a concern. You're going to have great parties there. Some of those parties are going to get a little loud. Well, what happens, is there going to be a required cutoff time where you have to end the music or something like that?
None of the windows will be operational, and the doors are kept shut. The last thing you want to have is somebody on the dance floor that's really sweating, but and having all the noise, people opening up windows and having the noise escape. That's not going to happen. There will be no operational windows, so the
Yeah.
noise will be
I-
contained inside the building.
Yeah, I would encourage the board to think about something in there for when parties need to end on weekends.
think
You'll
we have
certainly
that.
have something for in
Yeah,
the
we
liquor
do.
license as far as the time for serving.
Yeah.
The parties can continue.
That
If
will be
I
in
was a
the
neighbor, I'd
special
want
use
something like
permit.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just generally, required in time for events. then what happens if the business closes or is abandoned at some point in the future? Whether it be during the lease or after purchase, what happens there?
Katie, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, the abandonment under the lease is defined. At that point, the lease would terminate and the property would, still be owned by the town. It would be significantly improved, presumably, as we would have had the construction hopefully would be complete and we have the performance bonds in place. Rent, obviously would cease and the town would unfortunately be back to, owning and operating and maintaining the building at that point.
An official Northborough banquet hall, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yay.
What protections are in place for the public to use the facility? I know there's been some general talk of, well, on evenings when there is not an event, that maybe the public could use it in some way, shape, or form. What will be in place, if anything, in the lease?
Is that the accessory building? Or?
We've had those discussions
Yeah.
about having a historical room, if you needed an area for doing general business hours to have a group get together, just to talk to each other, that's fine. The building's gonna be, if there's not an event going on, the building will be open. So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are the main events.
Sure.
So
if
we're now
like-
seeing the occasional Thursday night wedding that's happening.
Okay.
But the rest of the time, it's pretty much just a working crew there, preparing and prepping and cleaning.
So if like the Girl Scouts wanted to meet on Tuesday nights or something like that?
We could accommodate them. Well,
Okay.
it depends, again, during normal business hours.
Okay, yeah. Again, I would encourage the board to insert something in the lease that would allow the public to take advantage of the historic building that the town did save. Steph, you answered most of the questions about the historic deed restriction. I know there's a cost to developing that. Who pays for that? Does Elegant Banquets pay for that? Does the town pay for creating
it's
that?
our deed restriction, so talking to the Historic New England, he said that basically it would be, I think it would be total of 100,000 and they would allow for $20,000 per year, and we could pay for it in CPA funds. And they would hold it, forever
Yep.
until, death do us part, hopefully. Hopefully it'll stay.
Yep. Okay. In a related question, as I know, at least from what I understand, there's always the option to undo a deed restriction by replenishing the CPA funds of the 2.4 million that were spent there. And that would be the worst thing in the world, so please don't think that
Well,
I'm.
even if it catches on fire,
Yeah.
it has to go before the Mass Historic to deem it,
Yep.
non-restrictive anymore.
Yeah.
So-
My question relating to that is if Elegant Banquets in 10 years buys it
Yeah.
from the town for the 2.4 million plus interest, or whatever it turns out to be, but obviously in excess of 2.4 million, I want to make sure, this would be my recommendation to the board, to make sure that that does not imply in any way, shape, or form that the town will relinquish the deed restriction.
Yeah.
That even though financially the town would be made whole, the intent is not to undo that restriction.
Oh, that is not the intent.
Again, my strong recommendation, find some way to put that in writing.
Before you go on-
Because in 10 years, it'll be a different set of people in this room.
Katie, isn't it pretty hard to undo a deed restriction?
Yes, yes, the deed restriction is perpetual and it would, it says that, and it would be approved by Mass Historic. And it's very difficult to extinguish a deed restriction. And there are certain circumstances, certain showings need to be made. And I personally have not seen that happen. So, yeah, restoration of the CPA funds would not extinguish this historic restriction.
Excellent, thank you. The TIF looks good. I have no concerns about that. It was actually a little bit better for the town than I anticipated. Thanks, Rich.
No, that's
Is
thanks,
the,
Jeff.
a question I,
Good poker face, Mitch.
question that, at least the handout didn't explain to me, the option to purchase, is that just at the 10-year period, or is that any time after the 10-year period?
So they have 2 10-year extensions if they don't purchase.
Okay,
Isn't that right, Katie? Did I misspeak?
Yes, the lease is for, I believe, 20 years and then has 2 10-year extensions. So the lease,
That's for 40.
the
It's a 40-year
option
lease,
would
but-
come into play at the 11th year and would extend for such time as the lease is still in effect. But if the lease expires or terminates,
Okay.
the option goes away.
okay, that's what I wanted to understand. So it isn't just after 10 years, you either say yes or no and that's it. It could be in year 17,
I see where you're going.
decide to
Yep.
purchase.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any protection of the frontage of this sort of, not what I would call the historic part immediately around the mansion, but the frontage of the building? Because in theory, somebody could erect a building that would obscure the view of the building, and that would be
Yes.
a roundabout way.
Yep, that would be in the initial plans. So the only other building that they're discussing is the accessory building, so all of that would be in the deed restriction.
Yep.
The northeast corner of the
in
land.
the
Right, okay,
northeast,
yeah.
right, yeah.
So it would the entirety of the property be in the deed restriction?
Yes, it would be the premises
Okay.
of,
I
yeah.
think Katie might.
Oh, go ahead, Katie, yep.
Did you want to weigh in on
Yeah,
that?
the deed restriction would protect the visual aspects of the building from the streets. So that, it's not the planning board or even the town, the deed restriction would govern that. I mean, I know the property is, how big is it? It's 7 acres. I mean, I assume that's a rather large parcel, but, yeah, the visual aspects of the building are protected by the deed restriction.
Okay,
Thank you.
that concludes my questions.
Oh, thank you
That
very
was
much.
easy.
Thank you very much.
Can I add 2 things?
Yes, please.
So, Mitch, one of the issues is we have a huge environmental problem with the White Cliffs, and that's going to be addressed. That's a fairly significant number as we go through it.
Yep.
And the second is I want to thank Norm, because we were stumped as to how are we going to have this place protected by the fire safety code with all the sprinkler heads throughout. And Norm asked John a question. He said, what are you going to put on the floors on the second floor? Well, he's going to carpet the second floor. Well, he said, once you lift up the floorboards and put your sprinkler heads in, and then you don't have to interfere with any of the beauty of the walls down below.
Nice.
And we're doing the same for the third floor down to the second. So thank you to Norm for that one, because we had architects, who
Smarty
none
pants.
gave us the idea. Norm did.
I think much of the preservation of White Cliffs is thanks to Norm.
Okay,
True.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Let's go with Brian, who is calling in. Thanks, Norm. Hi, Brian.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Brian Zeiger. I'm on 2 Stratton Way. First of all, I look forward to meeting with Elegant Banquets on Wednesday, and a lot of our neighbors are. We have a list of concerns. We're hopeful that everything's going to be met, and we're going to this as a positive attitude. And a lot of the things Mitch said, I just wanted to, some of the terms we've heard, I'm not sure everybody in our neighborhood understands them. So can we, in the simplest form possible, could somebody explain the different terms? And I'll read them out, like overlay, special permit, the lease, and now the deed restriction. Can you just lay them out? Maybe if you don't want to do it here, at least before the town meeting, just so everybody knows what they are. Because I know some of the things that Mitch just said, I was told last time, oh, this is when you talk about the special permit, this goes into the special permit or the overlay. So can we get those clearly defined in the simplest terms for everybody to understand? Some people aren't on planning boards or zoning or anything, so they really need to understand how it's going to affect them and where our input can come into play.
Yes, Brian, I just want to let you know, tomorrow night is the planning board meeting on this. It's a special hearing. So both Business East and the overlay option will be discussed. And I believe they're on Zoom as well, right?
Yes.
Yes, at 6 o'clock, maybe? Okay, we'll check, but it's either 6 or 6:30. But in a nutshell, I'm not a zoning expert. Jacob might know a little bit more, but Business East, right now, the parcel is half residential, half Business East. So the initial thought was to make it Business East because that covers, the type of use that Elegant Banquets has or is proposing. The planning board thought that it might be more friendly to put an overlay zone over it, just in case anyone in the future were to change the use. So it would be, I actually have their printout. I won't go in depth because, like I said, I'm not an expert, but it would be considered a hospitality overlay district. The purpose is to allow options for hospitality uses in select locations with Northborough based on proximity to infrastructure and appropriateness of the site. The hospitality overlay district is intended to ensure that these uses serve the community's cultural, economic, social needs while minimizing adverse impacts to abutter uses. Because I think the concern is if it's Business East, you can build up to, I'm not even going to say this. Jacob, do you know the square footage you can build up into?
Don't quote me on this, but I think 5,000 without a special permit, and beyond 5,000, I think it requires ZBA special permit, but it's something like that.
Yeah, so I think, they were concerned somebody could come in, and it would never be, for instance, a CVS or anything like that, because we're dealing with an existing historic home that has a deed restriction on it. So it would have to be a very specific use that could, be in that building. Again, I said this before, I said the only way is if, it burnt to the ground and the Mass Historic Commission said, okay, yeah, it's not restricted anymore. Now you have a parcel of land and you can do whatever you want with it. But they'll go over these two choices more in depth tomorrow night. So if you can tune in, that would be great.
Does that help, Brian?
Yeah, just,
Thanks, Katie.
there are a lot of moving parts to this project. And so I know that the lease is sort of independent of that. And that's the contract between the town and Elegant Banquets, the terms under which it would lease the property. And I believe the other question was regarding the option. And the option is a document that gives Elegant Banquets the right to acquire the property at a predetermined, basically a predetermined price. After year 10, starting in the 11th year. I think those were two of the other terms that were asked about.
No, I was asking, the overlay I understand, but the special permit, is that different than the overlay or is that different than the lease?
Yes.
So I think last time during the meeting, I had a very specific questions, like what about the noise in the park and all that stuff and the landscaping, the environmental impact. And I think my understanding was that's going to be on the special permit. When the zoning board gets the special permit, that's when they'll take some input, maybe from the abutters, to say, hey, here's some things we could add to the special permit, and it's enforceable by the lease. So I don't know if I'm connecting all the dots right.
You're
I know
right.
if I'm not everybody in the neighborhood is, and that's kind of why I'm asking the question tonight, if we can have that all laid out. Maybe once the planning board meets tomorrow and see what the direction we're going, But I think to our concerns, our specific concerns, we're going to talk about Wednesday night with Rich and John, I'm assuming, what happens after he says, oh yeah, we'll do all that. Where's that documented? Where's that enforced? Is it the lease, the special permit, or something else?
You know what I'll do?
Both, actually.
I'm
Go ahead, Mr.
actually,
Jacobs.
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, just 2 seconds, but I just wanted to answer Brian. I'm going to the planning board meeting, so what I'll do is a little recap. Wednesday night, unfortunately, I have to be at the financial planning meeting, but I'll be right upstairs. So I'm going to do a little report, and I'll give it to Rich so he can go over, what was discussed at the planning board meeting.
Katie, did you want to say something? Attorney
No.
Klein? You're
All set, thank you.
Okay, okay, Jacob.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just trying to be a little helpful here. Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least the version of the overlay that they're planning to discuss tomorrow includes a special permit granting authority. I don't know that they decided which one it was, but that doesn't matter.
Yes, I
Planning
think they
board or
said the
ZBA.
ZBA.
I think that's right, but I
Yep.
don't want to speak for them. So to the gentleman's question, I think under either option, whether it's zoning change to business east, under business east, a restaurant that serves alcohol has to get which this would be considered, I think, under our building inspector's determination. It's required currently, anyone in business east who wants to do that has to get a special permit before the ZBA, and that would apply also here. So whether it's regardless of which option is the solution, either one of them involves this special permit process. And it's a great question, because what goes in the lease versus what's covered in the special permit. My personal opinion is it's difficult for me to fathom getting into such level of details in the lease to say things like, this is the number of trees that have to be planted within this distance of the lot line to provide a visual screen for the neighbors. It's the kind of level of detail that I wouldn't necessarily want to have to agree to in the lease, but those are exactly the kinds of details that get covered in a special use permit hearing. Listens to the neighbors, they'll have the site plan ready by then. Presumably, I mean, you submit the site plan for the special use permit, they review exactly where the vegetation is, where the lot lines are, and then hours of operation and those kinds of things are very regularly addressed in the special use permit process. So I understand that some of the details are addressed in the lease, but some of the more nuanced things like what we're talking about here aren't. And I wish we had a very nice black and white way of saying which is which, but I hope that helps at least a little bit.
No, that's exactly the answer. And I think, why can't we have a black and white way by the town meeting?
Oh, we could try. I mean, may I respond to that, Madam Chair? Maybe, as a result of the meeting with the neighbors tomorrow, if we can get a list, or somehow figure out exactly the kinds of things that the neighbors want addressed, and then we can ask Stephanie to look at them to see in consultation with the parties' attorneys, which of them may make sense to put in the lease versus which of them are normally things that would be special use permit. So you can know which one's which. I mean, I think that's a reasonable
Yeah, thank you.
request.
So-
That's my opinion.
I also wanted to thank Rich and John also for having the meeting and reaching out to us early enough. So I think that's a good step forward, and we all appreciate that. And as neighbors, we were talking, and also for the select board, I know you guys have been really considerate of the abutters in the neighborhood. So I want to say thank you and appreciate that, because we do want to make this work. We just don't want to make it work on general terms without getting specific. So we do want to be specific about things that we want. So we're on board with making it better for us and making it better for the town. Just, I want it all documented and enforceable. So that was it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. See you Wednesday night.
Okay, I will-
Attorney Klein, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the lease would incorporate the terms of the special permit, because the tenant would be obligated to comply with those. And unfortunately, my second point is it's somewhat premature to iron out all of the details that will occur before the special permit granting authority, presumably the ZBA. at this point because it's a little bit early to have all of the details worked out.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to say anything?
We've had a lot of experience with this and site plan approval and dealing with design review committees and the zoning commission, the planning commission, all that level of detail, the fencing, the types of trees, the thickness of the trees, the berm that may have to go in, fencing that may have to go in, all that will be covered in excruciating detail.
Wow, well, thank you. Norm, thank you for waiting.
Norm Corbin, 35 Whitney Street. So a couple questions and a comment. I'll start with my comment. So this coming January will be the 12th year that I've been involved with White Cliffs, since it first went up on the market. This is the first time I have any positive feedback or things are going in the right direction. It's been a while, so I'm very optimistic.
Good
But-
things come to those who wait.
We appreciate your persistence.
We tried. Anyway, I did have a few comments. So one of them, so I'll represent right now the Historical Commission as an example. We would like to have events there. And the town's had events at White Cliffs in the past. They've had balls and the like. I'd like when you go through your negotiations, I'd like you to come up with a way, to find a way that nonprofits in the town, including the town, could have a discount rate for an event on a Friday or a Saturday night. Just keep that in mind. I think that would be a nice public benefit. The second thing is, when we originally started a discussion with Historic New England, they have to accept us. And there's a meeting they're going to have in October to say that, yes, we will take responsibility for White Cliffs. I don't remember that date. And do you know-
October 14th.
So October 14th is when they will say either this for our property or this. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, so that's really like the big key decision right now from them.
Yes.
I'm optimistic.
Well,
but-
he said he's presenting it to the committee, so
Yeah.
I guess they would say yes or no at that meeting.
So that is a big,
Yes.
that's a big decision for us, because if they say no, we'll have to find another opportunities.
Right.
Should we go to that meeting?
No, I asked him that. Yeah, he said he will report back on October 15th, so I put it on my calendar.
Excellent, that's all I needed to know, thank you.
Thanks, Norm.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please come up. Oh, you know what? I think Bob jumped up before you did, Lisa, sorry. Bob, come on up. And if you wouldn't mind stating your full name and address.
Okay, my name is Bob Light, 48 Emerson Road. I'm also the chair of the Historical Commission. I just wanted to point out that our commission will help in any way possible with Historic New England and with Massachusetts Historical Commission in developing the preservation plan. And it's very important to us to make sure that the proper features and historic features of the building are maintained. As a private citizen, I'm really thrilled about this project. It's really a dream come true for anyone interested in historic preservation. And I think the plans that were laid out by Elegant Banquets is really very, very perfect. Particularly the plan to make a historic room, which I think we could expand maybe to history of Northborough as well. And also in discussing with Rich the landscaping that was planned. Very interested. We expect that in the spring, the Purple Beech is going to be named as a Massachusetts legacy tree, and we can have a little ceremony there for that. So, but it sounds like the plans for landscaping are beautiful. So even if you don't go inside the building, you'll be able to walk through the beautiful grounds. And I also think that having a wedding venue is going to obviously bring revenue to the town, as well as prestige and civic pride. So we fully support the program. I'm very pleased with your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Good evening, Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. Hello there. I too am pleased with the route that we're taking. I think that it's about time that we took greater pride in our property. I have two questions. The first one is that when I keep hearing about if the building burns, and this isn't hypothetical, we've already had it happen, so it's not as if it's not in the realm of possibility. The land still is part of the preservation that was in the article. So I don't believe it can just go regularly to something else. I think the land has to have some sort of, because it will be the
It's part
land
of
and
it.
the building.
Right, so what research I have done on that side, it said that it would have to go back anyway to the Mass Historic Commission to evaluate what is, still preserved, if anything, and restricted.
All right.
So that wouldn't be up to us to say, oh, the building burnt down, we can do whatever we want. I mean, it has to go through them.
Well, then, and I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of people seem to think that that's a possibility, that we could just do whatever we wanted to, and there is more to it than that.
Yeah.
There's also,
Before you go to your next question, Attorney Klein, do you have any more information about that possibility? Like what happens to
I
the
think,
land?
what happens is they evaluate whether or not the historic elements of the building can be restored, given the cost, the insurance proceeds that presumably will be, for 100% of the restoration, to reconstruct it. But at some point, if the building burns basically to the ground, you could replace the building entirely, but it would no longer have historic value. It would be a new building. So you might require that it be rebuilt, but and you might have the insurance proceeds to do that. But I'm not sure that the historic restriction would really, still be operative at that point.
Okay, but I think the question was specifically, the property, the 7 acres will still be probably preserved?
I don't know. I mean, unless, there'd have to be a conservation restriction of some sort on the 7 acres, that beyond the exterior of the building. Maybe I don't completely understand. That will be developed as the historic restriction is developed.
Okay.
But if the sort of the land itself is preserved, then it couldn't be used, say, for housing or something of that nature.
I see. Does that answer you?
well, I know the land has to be, there's supposed to be a preservation restriction on the land as well.
Right.
That's supposed to go with the deed.
Yeah, but, and that's for the use of the property. So basically, let's just say at this point, Elegant Banquets owned the property. And let's just say it burnt to the ground. We can't say you can't do anything forever with this property. I mean, if they owned it, then, who are we to say, no, sorry, you're out of luck?
Because that's what a deed restriction is all about. That's what you're doing tonight.
Well,
or
the
you're
deed
putting in
restriction is for a reason.
restrictions.
It's preserving a historic building.
And the land. It's not just the building. Look
Yeah,
it
but
up.
if the building didn't exist, that would,
It's still the land. It starts out with the land being the most important thing,
Well,
and the buildings they're on.
yeah.
So legally speaking, the land is also supposed to have a deed restriction.
Yes. Katie?
Yes, that would have to be written into the restriction and worked out with Historic New England. That could be done.
Okay.
All right, so that's that's the most important part of legal speak, because that's one of the reasons why the land was put aside. It didn't just say the building, and that would be one thing. There are many artifacts that are in a storage unit, and they're stained glass, there's a fountain, there's a number of different pieces that are in there. I'm sure some of the fireplace pieces are in there that were taken off because they wanted to try to sell what they could from that. So when those come up and you're getting ready to do your renovations, have you set aside, and have we set aside, getting them in a place where you can take inventory? You have to see them, you have to know whether or not these are going to be usable, and then when they're not, if they don't use everything, if you choose not to use the fountain, That's still one of our artifacts. That fountain could be used.
I don't think we have the
We
fountain.
haven't seen the fountain.
Fountain was supposed, I have a list of what Skinner Auction had, and the fountain was in it.
And Norm is nodding yes.
If
Oh,
it's there,
really?
we'll figure out a way to use it.
It's not the original fountain. There was a fountain that is in storage, but I don't think it's the original.
Okay, it's not the original fountain, but it's a fountain. Okay.
And do you know what the years of it were?
No, I don't know what's in storage.
I will tell you that John has been pestering me. When can we get in to see all the stained glass and everything that has been held in storage by the town? He desperately wants to see that and incorporate
course.
everything. We have, because we've been given pictures of what we think is there, and we want to incorporate all that stained glass and the spider window especially back into the building.
Yes. So that's a concern too, as to how those pieces are going to be worked in.
Yep.
I do understand it's still the town's personal property while you have a lease,
Yep.
but at the point that you have an ownership, those would then become part of the building itself. The trees and the extra property that we're looking at behind the building to the northeast, how many, do you have any idea of how many trees you're actually going to have to take down? Because that's really the only wooded area of any amount.
And until everything gets laid out, no, we don't have any idea.
Okay.
It would be selective tree removal. The idea is to leave as many trees up around the perimeter as possible. But in that northeast corner, it looks like it's a pretty clear area currently.
Okay.
And there may only be a few scrub trees coming along the way for, we've been thinking about fire safety and having some type of a loop road. So when you go halfway up the entryway into White Cliffs, taking a right and making it just wide enough for a fire truck to get up there and to have that as a service area. But, so there'd be some trees next to, the dentist office that's there. That would be eliminated, but it would only be, a small area, just to allow fire engines to go up there.
Okay.
We don't want the place to burn down. And,
no.
On the sprinkler system, it's being done for two purposes. One is for the preservation of the building, and the other is for life safety.
Right.
So whatever strength is needed for that, it will be to protect both the building and human life.
Okay. And you speak of the fire coming up. Is there, I don't think you've probably considered this, but checking with the dentist's office to find out if you could get an easement to come in if in fact there was, a pretty big problem going on, to get them a quicker entrance to your property as well, so it could come in two places, not just one.
We haven't spoken to them.
So,
We don't have rights to it yet.
right, so that might be something we could just take a quick look at.
So wait, I'm sorry, where's the dentist?
The
And that
office building to the
building
east.
to the
The big brick
Towards
building
Chet's.
that's
Oh,
more
yeah.
east,
Okay,
because the land comes behind it.
yep, that's right.
So if we could get an easement to come through even their driveway area or whatever, that would be a, shorter distance to get up to the cliffs.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to the tree having its little, the notion, that'll be lovely. And the only thing that I have to say everybody's gonna be, oh, no, is I'm still, and there are many, many people that I've talked to that feel 40-year lease is just too long a lease, that it should be a 20-year lease with extension for 10, but that 40 is just too long.
You will find it impossible to get any type of funding on a 20-year lease from any sources. Because if a bank has to foreclose for whatever reason, they want to have enough term in there to recoup their money. And usually if you have a 20-year note on doing all the improvements to the property, the bank wants at least 1.5 to 2 times that, so that they know they are protected if they have to go out to market and sell the property.
Oh, good to know.
Well, the bigger problem with that too is now you're selling a restricted property, so the bank doesn't have all that freedom to just sell the property.
The bank, one of the things they ask is, what can this building become? And we've run through this a few times already. What can this building become if the wedding business ever dried up or went away? And there's a host of activities that could occur there which fall into either your Business East District or what is being proposed under the the
Overlay.
drop-in zone.
Yeah, the overlay.
Yeah,
It's probably
the
the better
overlay,
way to
yeah.
go. Well, but 30 years instead of 40.
It has to be 40. I actually wanted more, and they came back and said, we 40.
Oh, you
We
did a
would-
good
none of
job.
us-
You got 2 10-year extensions at
We
your
would-
control, so you have
right, so-
60. Good job.
Yeah. None of us here will be there after 40, I can assure you.
None of us will be here, but that's,
So, but I think that, to me, that's a real stopper for me. So I just want to put that out there, and I know I'm not the only person that feels that
Yep.
way. Okay,
But
thank
thank
you
you
very
for
much.
that explanation. It makes sense.
I'll just interject again my little anecdote about the Guinness Brewery.
exactly.
Who signed a 9,000-year lease a couple hundred years ago. And I think whether it's 40 years or 9,000, people are going to want a Guinness or want a drink, and they're going to get married. So
That's it.
hopefully, those are the constants that'll carry us through. But I appreciate the explanation as to why you need that kind of lengthy lease, and obviously you're putting, I think it was like $8 million,
least.
between new
Probably
construction
more.
and remediation, probably more.
It's a lot more.
So, understand that. I think it was a negotiation back and forth, but I think we landed probably at a reasonable time frame. So,
Oh, any other comments? Oh, Brian, do you? Who did?
Yeah, right, Brian Zager, 2 Stratton Way again. So before the town meeting, will there be, I know it's not gonna be totally specific, but will there be some sort of plan that the town will be able to see, Rich, what you guys will be doing, what your plan is? I know last time John said he didn't know yet, like all the specifics, but I think the town should see something.
Like
of
a
your plan.
draft.
I mean, one of the things, we've been interviewing contractors, and then we've been interviewing architects, and we feel as though that the contractor should be chosen first, the architect second, and once you ask them to do a schematic, they go on the clock, and before we know if we're going to get this, it's difficult to spend that type of money. We can talk about it in generalities, show you other projects that John has done, especially, down in Connecticut and in New York, and use that as a guideline to say, well, you've buffered yourself from the neighbors here, you've buffered yourself from the neighbors here. It should happen. It would be the same thing that would happen here, Brian. But again, we'll be happy to talk to you about it all Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna talk to you about that, but don't you think the town, when they vote, should have some sort of idea, like what it's gonna look like?
I mean, we do have an idea of what it's going to look like. Even a hand-drafted plan of, existing building, where the ballroom is, any additions coming off.
Well, we've been, we have put a request in to Scott. You had a study done in 2020 by a company.
Yes.
Right, the architects?
You had, it showed the portions of the building that was built in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. And we're going to take that part away. And we'd love to be able to get, one of the architects requested the drawings from that. So if we can get that to this architect.
Okay, yep.
Then we can potentially have something of a draft, some type of schematic, if you will.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
get that.
I think it would help your case, actually, but
Yep.
that was it. I'll see you Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Tom Reardon, hello. Hi, Tom.
Good evening, Tom Reardon, 7 Sunset Drive. My question addresses, is there any language in the proposed lease that talks about the quality and level of the historic renovation? Is there any mention in the Department of Interior guidelines specifically? Because some of the things we're discussing, fixed windows, which are not double hung, the sprinklers, they're going to reconstruct some of the bell-shaped roofs and so forth. And obviously, asphalt shingles weren't invented until 1904, so it would either be tile or wood if you were going to really historically restore the roof. So I'm getting into the weeds a little bit, but I just want to know if there's anything in the proposed lease that covers the degree and quality of the historic renovation.
That would be in the historic deed restriction. Would it be Exhibit A, Kate, but that will come after the fact, correct?
Yes, the historic preservation restriction does talk about using the Secretary of Interior standard, and that language will be incorporated in as an exhibit to the lease.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions, comments? No? Come on up. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen Tolman, 203 West Main Street. Just want to say I'm very excited that this is coming to fruition. We're going to see life and activity up there. I'm happy that I'll be a large proponent of doing cool activities, like extending Porch Fest maybe up on the hill
Be
next
awesome.
year.
I love Porch Fest.
And open studios, and maybe in one of your rooms, we can put some artwork up and rotate artists, so I'm thrilled with that. I would just say, like, to Brian and other people who might need like a conceptual kind of idea, if you drive by the Deerfoot Mansion on Route 30 in Southborough, it's on 4.5 acres. I don't know the size of the home compared to the size of this home, but if you kind of go on the other side and look back, you can kind of see how the mansion is and where they have, they've got a chapel on the side. So like spatial thinking, if people need something to check out, maybe it's approximately, I don't know how you would.
Sorry, what town was that?
In Southborough on Route 30.
Okay, yeah.
Deerfoot Mansion, they redid that, and I don't know exactly, maybe our historic people know how big their house is versus this one, and where the ballroom is, but they do have a chapel on the side, and it's really cute, and so, yeah, I'm excited to see this happen, so, thank you. Thank you to all of you for all the work you've been doing. I'm sure this has
Thank you, Jen.
been a long haul, so, thanks.
You have to know that gentleman is one of the best proponents of the Northborough Cultural Council.
Awesome. Awesome. Good.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Oh, I was just going to say, I've really appreciated how willing you've been to listen to everybody and to be so, just coming out to these meetings and listening to all of this and doing the community outreach meeting. I know it takes a lot of time, and I feel like it's built a neat relationship for us. So I thank you for really being such a good partner through this initial phase.
We'll be, as long as I'm around, we'll be a great partner.
What did Mike say, 9,000 years?
Yeah, that's great.
9,000 years.
And we understand what Route 84 is like, so.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay.
Jacob has a question.
Oh, Jacob.
Sorry.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Really quickly, I know we're gone pretty long on this, but I might have been my hearing. I thought I heard somewhere earlier someone might have mentioned a 20-year lease. And since I know our board is really trying to make sure the public has clear information, and I'm sorry if I just heard it wrong, the proposal is a 40-year lease with 2 10-year options to continue the lease for a maximum of 60 years. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Yes, unless they purchase after year 10.
Okay. I thought I heard 20 earlier, and that might have
You
just been
did,
my-
we
I
corrected it.
haven't- I misspoke.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the public
Excuse
has.
me.
Oh, it's fine. I
It
just.
is 40 years.
Okay, great. And thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Safe
thanks.
travels.
Thanks.
Travel.
Yeah,
See you
thank you,
soon.
Rich.
Thank you.
We'll see you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should just sleep here. Join the rest of us.
Okay.
Thought about it. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Saint-Gobain. And I think we have some guests from Saint-Gobain to come up. And we have someone remotely. Hi, Leslie.
Can you hear me okay?
Hello.
Yes.
Good.
Hi. And would you mind introducing yourselves to the public, please?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
So introductions again. So my name's Todd Denoya. I oversee our Saint-Gobain Research North America facility. I get to kind of walk through it. I'll go through it at high level, and then we can address any questions on the model from there. Okay?
Before you start,
Yes.
everyone received a copy of a 15-year and a 10-year. And
think
you
we
would
have-
like us to look at
We think they're both 10 years.
that, okay, there was a little bit of,
So right on the left-hand side, it's
It says,
Because I think some of you also got a copy of a 15 years. So this is the one you have to look at, the one that says
10 years.
10 years, right?
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Everybody has one.
Okay, everyone has
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
Yep.
Great.
We're ready.
Thank you. So I guess what we sent over, the first page, just kind of just, why we're here speaking to you, looking for town support, and just kind of wanted to share and reiterate that we do look for support with our local governments and towns. We do large investments. And this question's come up a couple of times. We gave some examples of some other projects recently, just to show some examples of, those incentives with large projects and large investments, okay? The second slide really just kind of outlines the revised proposal based on some new information we received on the estimated value of the property. Okay, so this was put together with Town Assessor Lee, who I believe is here actually.
Yes, he is.
And essentially provided us information on our current valuation of the properties and then his estimate of what the valuation of the property would be after the renovation. Okay, and that's shown here on the right-hand side of the different buildings. We're highlighting in yellow the major renovation, but the renovation does include the campus. One of the buildings will be moving a lot of offices into one building's land renovation, parking lot, et cetera. So the total investment does include more than just one building, okay? And then you can see here it has a existing value that's estimated today with the tax rate, and then again, an estimated value of the taxes post-renovation, which would be after 5 years based on our current schedule. And then the estimated tax rate and the additional taxes of about $300,000 additional annually per year, assuming the estimated values at the end of the project, okay? And then the proposed model on the TIF is a 10-year proposed model, okay? Essentially, we're planning to do the construction starting in 2026 at this point. The first year of the valuation would start in 2027. So it's proposed that we start the TIF in 2027. It would go for 10 years through 2036. We're proposing an abatement rate decrease of 100 in year one, which is on a low assessed value since we'll just be beginning construction, but then increases as we complete that construction over the 5-year period, and then goes scaled to or stepped essentially to 25% in year 10, okay? It's applied only to real property, and then Northborough caps the full tax rate after the abatement period, okay? And then for this model, again, just use the assessed values provided by the assessor, and we just held the 2025 tax rate constant with no depreciation. Okay, I don't know if Leslie or Don, anything else to share on this one?
No.
Good. Okay. And then the other model is just a different form of stepping it. So it's same over a 10-year period. It just shows 100% abatement year 1 to 5, and then 50% year 6 to 10, with the overall the same abatement tax value of $1.52 million over 10 years. And again, the full tax, to the town after 10 years. Okay, and I think to reiterate in the model, the base tax in green is something that exists today and will always exist. So we're not proposing any change in that. It's just essentially incrementing the tax abatement over time to step to the full tax rate. Okay, so the green base is always present on the current taxes. Okay.
I just have a question. So the green portion.
Yes.
That's based on, our annual values. So that was fiscal year 25 values?
Yes.
So, we're looking at an increased, you said you're starting in between, what, year 20?
So we're planning to start
Calendar year
construction in 2026, but what we understand, the first year of new valuation wouldn't start till 2027. So it'll be on a small amount of improvement achieved by 2027, and that shows initial abatement in yellow of what the abated tax would be at that time. And then as we complete the renovation, increase the value, the estimated valuation is what we have at 5 years. Again, an estimate from the assessor.
I think, yeah, do you mind coming up to the, thanks.
Hi, Lee Kim Manibong, Town Assessor. Steph's question is, your base in green is based on FY25 value and FY25 tax rate. We've already started FY26. So is your base going to be, the new base going to be based on FY26 value, FY26 tax rate? Because more than likely, the tax rate will change
Yes, and
That-
for
that's
this
her
model, we
question.
just held it constant, but we know that'll change.
Okay, so this is
Okay.
just the structure, not,
This is a structure, correct.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Just for the simplicity of the model, and I think Leslie or Don, correct me if I'm.
No,
wrong,
we
yeah.
didn't make any
Yeah.
assumptions. We just left it for the numbers that you provided us. It was the easiest way to
show a model.
show a model.
Okay, yep.
And of course, between 2025 and 2030, we had to make some assumptions as to how the
Yeah,
how
but we
the
know that-
value is going to increase to get to the after renovation piece. So,
But we know that's an estimate, and we know the taxes
just an
change as
estimate,
well.
yeah.
So it's just an estimate.
Okay.
Leslie?
Yes, thank you very much. Madam Chairman, thank you for allowing me to make a comment. When you talk about delaying it maybe a year using those tax rates and that sort of thing, the other counter effect that goes on these buildings is if we're really delaying construction, there's also another year of depreciation that occurs. So we thought, well, let's just stick with the numbers that we know that we absolutely have now and use that as the baseline and show that across the whole baseline there. And it was even pointed out to us theoretically that the assessed value could go down as a result of partial gutting of the building as a result of, losing value in that building. So we thought, no, we don't want to get into a complicated baseline model. We just want to hold it constant. Thank you.
Any comments from the board? Any questions? Because we will be discussing this later. Any questions? Jacob?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I'm thinking if I have a question. I really appreciate the presentation, the explanation. Maybe I'm just restating the obvious. The assumptions box, obvious, for example, before and after renovation values and taxes provided by Northborough Town Assessor is listed as an assumption. And I think everyone here understands that those are assumptions because none of us in this room, including the assessor, can predict what the future assessed values will be because that's antithetical to, none of us has a crystal ball, right?
Exactly.
So I think we all are understanding that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we're proposing it in terms of a period and then a percent in year 1 and ramping to a percent by year 10, because that's the best way to look at the model.
Sounds great. And then I remember looking at it previously. You had very helpful information. I've looked at it all. But I believe that the renovations were planned. Okay, no, it's on here too. Yeah, the construction was intended to be complete sometime potentially in 2029 into 2030.
Yes.
Correct.
Is that still your projections?
That's still the plan. We're planning to start in 2026, actual construction, assuming approvals, and then we'll go forward through 2030 to complete construction.
Okay. And could you remind me, I remember you mentioned that you were in the 60% design phase.
Correct.
Or you were going to be. Is there any update you can give us on the
Yeah,
phase
so
of?
we are in the 60% design. We're looking to close that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We do have our next my review within the internal stakeholders in terms of approvals come November, actually first week in November. So we are looking to kind of get response from yourselves on this abatement, on this tax incentive.
Super. Thank you.
For it to be in line with that timeline.
Through the chair.
Yes, please.
Could you remind me the scope of the Northborough part of this? It's
Yes.
remodeling. We did a tour. Great
Yes.
facility, great company, and it's remodeling that plus building a lab for.
Yeah, so the full scope across Northborough specifically is our main building, which is the 100,000 square foot building, the 1985 Circa building. That's the one of the concentration. In order to do that renovation, we will be putting a small addition, again, which stays within Northborough to accommodate swing space and additional lab space. We will be moving a lot of the office space that's in that current building to build our building 3 on campus, which is again in the Northborough campus. So it involves essentially 3 buildings, 1 new addition, the large 100,000 square foot building, plus renovation of our large building 3, which is the newest building on campus, remember the nice one. Yeah. And then we do have another project which is ongoing now, which is a test facility in the Marlborough site.
And thank you. And the test facility it's completed.
It's not completed, it's still under construction. We're hoping to complete construction by the end of this year, and we'll start initial commissioning in 2026.
And that was a $30 million investment?
Yes.
And what did Marlboro contribute as a TIF?
We didn't pursue a TIF with Marlboro on that.
You didn't pursue a TIF?
I'll ask Leslie or Dawn to comment on that.
So what ended up happening was Marlboro, through their support behind, she said that there weren't a sufficient number of jobs because all the jobs are in Northborough. And it is true, all the entire $45 million payroll is in the Northborough area. So they declined pursuit of a TIF in Marlboro because they do have a job requirement.
Yeah, even the people who work in that fire test facility will sit in Northborough, in the Northborough buildings, actually.
And Leslie, help me understand this, because this was something unintentionally, intentionally, I felt misled last time Syncobon was here. Two things I think contribute to that. One is the $1.7 million of illustrative taxes to the town of Northborough that were presented as for us to anchor ourselves on, and that can change the way you view things. The second, and this part is, the payroll taxes have come up again, and last time I asked about the payroll taxes, it said that Northborough got an economic benefit from the payroll taxes. That was the reason that it was enticing for Northborough. And you walk that back. Can you help me understand those two things?
Okay, happy to do so. So let's talk about the payroll piece first. First of all, the payroll taxes aren't directly impacting. It's the purchasing power of the individuals that are stopping at the gas stations, that are buying lunches, that are stopping at the grocery store, that are doing whatever they're going to do to secure services and do purchases. Without that additional 350 people, you probably would see some decline. What percentage, I can't begin to predict, but there is certainly some benefit attributed to those 350 some odd people in terms of the community. The other thing, especially when you have a situation where they might be going out for a meeting lunch, which I know that they do that often, off-site, and they will go to places in Northborough. So it's not the direct impact of having that payroll, although I can tell you every tax abatement program that I've ever been affiliated with over the last 30 years, the job creation, job retention is always a requirement because they want to see that economic benefit in the community. Because ultimately, if the circumstances are right, those are the individuals that are also going to be building homes. Those are the people who are going to be investing in other resources within the community. So there is secondary and tertiary benefits associated with that payroll. Now, let me go back and address the first part.
Well, I guess we'll do that. Since we're on this topic, let's maybe square this off. I don't understand what you're saying. So the payroll taxes that you described are all the economic benefits I'd imagine we would have if we had hotels and restaurant tax and things in Northborough. As we talked last time, the hotel winner here is in Marlborough, maybe Berlin. So the payroll taxes that you're saying Marlborough, the Northborough economic benefit, that argument, I don't understand how it talks to payroll taxes, talks to people, but I'm struggling to understand how Marlborough doesn't benefit from more people needing hotels and the things that you described versus Northborough. I don't understand the argument on the payroll tax side.
So forgive me, let me add one point of clarification. I'm not talking about a payroll tax. I'm talking about people who are earning money and spending money.
Okay.
Okay. You are correct. The reason that people are staying in Marlborough is because they don't have options in Northborough. If there were options in Northborough, I can assure you that the people would be looking at those options. So the reality is, what do you have as a result of people who are earning a lot of money? They're going to look, as I said, to maybe even purchasing a car in there. I don't know if you have car dealerships or not, but the idea is that they will look to the community to be able to spending some of their money, grocery shopping, buying gas, doing services that need to take care of, the permit fees that you folks get. I mean, there are things that you can tick off on a list that begin to be the benefits associated with people. And I'm sure that there is some group that can do a very elaborate model and come up with what that spending power looks like. I don't have that information for you. What I can tell you is it is a reality. So that's what happens when you have an extra number of jobs. If you had no jobs at all, you would have no spending. If you've got 350 jobs, you've got a fair amount of spending going on. We just don't have enough detailed information at this point to be able to delineate that. So That's what I meant. I apologize sincerely if I gave the illusion that it was a tax benefit, because that was not my intent. So
And-
please
and
forgive me for
Let me
that.
just point out too, what we presented last time, and Leslie, I'm just referring to the gross economic contribution for the project, 63 added employees,
Right.
direct impact, indirect impact, induced impact, final output, that still stands. We're still bringing 63 additional people. We still have about 6,500 visits per year. The majority of that is without this test building in Marlborough, because that doesn't exist yet. So that's currently ongoing now. And they do spend money in the town of Northborough. We had a nice event at Romaines last week, actually.
Oh,
We do events there quite often, to be honest, and additional facilities around Northborough. So actually, we used to have our Christmas pies at White Cliffs a lot.
There we
had-
go.
we
And,
had
do
great
it
parties
again.
there after that, actually.
Yeah, and
miss
the thing
those.
I just want to be clear in this public meeting
Yeah.
is the economic benefit that we've described and we've talked about and the arguments made pertain more to Marlborough than do Northborough based on the location, what Marlborough has to offer, and even Berlin has to offer in that area. There will not be hotels on this side of Northborough that anyone can envision. I don't even think you could develop that area in which, on 20 East, where you would actually have them. No one's going to stay at whatever the new Super 6 hotel being redone is. So the economic benefit to Northborough, candidly, is like it's very low. So I'm just struggling to understand why Marlborough didn't support a $30 million TIF.
We'd have to talk to Marlboro about that. I'm sorry, sir. They have a job requirement. There weren't jobs associated with that
Okay.
particular project.
But you move forward with the project even though Marlborough did not participate in the TIF.
Yes, we
It's a
Okay.
$30 million
Okay.
project, not a $100 million project.
And thank you. And okay, thank you. And then I'll let you go. I knew you were going to the
And so,
other.
so let me go back. First of all, let me apologize to this group, Madam Chairman and others. I want to sincerely apologize about the model, the sample model that was presented to you before with some elaborate numbers. I did what I always do, which is I contact the assessor's office and I ask them for some guidance on how to put together some projections. I did understand that there was a square foot approach model and there was an income model. When I queried as to how I could possibly distill that down into something workable, it became very apparent to me that there was no easy methodology to do so. And I've since Lee has taken the time to walk us through and shown us some numbers, and it is a complicated process. So I applaud anyone who understands and appreciates what that gentleman is doing. The best thing that we could possibly do was to give you an idea of what that investment was going to be, and then to do a sample calculation by then just multiplying with the tax rate. Now, someone could say, well, why didn't you contact the state and use their discount factor if they had one? So I did talk to Kevin Kuros, and I did find out that they just, as a rule of thumb, just take, that whole number that's an investment and discount it by a certain factor. Well, it would have been still probably 50% too high. Well, it would have created a dynamic where there was still a level of disappointment. So my sincere apologies for creating a set of numbers that perhaps grew a life unto themselves and were going somewhere and creating an expectation. That was not the intent. The intent was to display how a model could potentially work. But I apologize. I truly, truly apologize that they took on a life of their own.
And then with that, I think just that I know not everyone has the benefit that's listening of what the model would show, but it showed $1.7 million of tax revenue in year 5, 2029, which is very different than numbers looking at today. So I imagine as you were, Todd, like maybe it's a question for you or for the consultant, I imagine as you were doing your modeling, this must be great news to Saint-Gobain. You had $1.7 million in your model in 2029, and now you've engaged the town very deeply. Thank you for that. And now you're looking at approximately $584,000. So Saint-Gobain must be looking at this like, wow, $1.2 million less in taxes and maybe a jurisdiction they didn't quite understand being a French company. But like, that's got to be a good story, I imagine, going back and showing that level of tax liability being a third of what it was.
I think relative to the model, we just showed it as a sample model and used a standard method in terms of saying this is the investment and this would be the tax. We, at the time, a standard model would say on that investment. When I look at today, the abatement relative to what we're asking for is really proportional to what the taxes are, so.
No, understood.
Yeah,
But
so
I'm just
that's-
like, but if I'm putting myself in St. Gabon's chair now, like I get Todd running the site, he comes to me and he goes, here's the project, I got $1.7 million in 2029 in the model, which I'm sure you showed them. And they said, wow, that seems like a lot of money. Now you're doing a model without an abatement that has $585,000 on it. So that is a significantly better model than you had first presented to the key stakeholders, I imagine. Okay, just want to make sure I understood that.
And again, we pitched at that time as this is a sample model. We told them we didn't have the assessed values. We didn't have actual rates. We just noted it relative to standard methodology on our total investment. Our total investment hasn't changed, so we're not changing that total investment.
Understood.
And understand the taxes out, yes, or less, and then the corresponding through proposal here, just adjust accordingly, so.
And then recently, we haven't talked about it as a select board, but it's my understanding that you recently secured a grant with the help of Northborough, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, we got $195,000 from the state of Massachusetts Econ EACC for job growth.
I'm glad we could help with that.
Yes, thank you.
And then, are you aware, and again, this is an R&D facility, so you don't pay taxes on property, plant, equipment, you have a federal tax credit, you have a lot of tax benefits already by the nature of the site. Do you know what St. Gabon paid in 2013 in taxes?
I don't have that information.
You talking corporate St. Gabon?
St. Gabon in Northborough, what did the town of Northborough receive in taxes?
Well, we have the estimates here on the building values and taxes. It's in that first.
He's asking
2013.
2013, no, I don't know.
$309,000. You currently pay $306,000. So all this is way saying, like, we're glad we could partner with you for the $195,000. St. Gabon has, been a good part of the community. St. Gabon's had a good deal. And I'm having a hard time on the select board. How do I look at fairness among residents and other businesses that might come before us and say, you did this for St. Gobain, why would you not do this for us? Whether they be Amazon, whether they be Steris, whether they be Wegmans, like from this perspective of just the disproportionate amount of paying less taxes now, 12 years ago, our residents' taxes are up 75% since then. So I'm having a hard time understanding.
I'm assuming that's due to depreciation of the site and the buildings, which we're now putting investment back in, and that's why we're here. We want to put investment back in.
Yeah.
So we have been there a long time. We want to be there a long time, and that's why we're here discussing putting future investment at this magnitude into the site. I mean, what we're asking for the company in terms of $90 million for this renovation, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money I will compete for with other, profit for sites, as I said in the past, and which will bring our building valuation up and hopefully maintain our residents in Northborough for a long time. And that's my argument back to corporate, is to make sure that we invest in our site and we stay here for a long time, versus other options. And kind of that's where I'm pitching for this money to go. And that will increase the value of the buildings, which then brings back taxes to the town. So I'm pretty sure if we went back and looked at 2013, I'm sure our buildings have been depreciating.
Sure.
Okay, anything else?
And just the last thing, there's a bolded statement here, says the absence of significant state and local incentives will make the project uncompetitive compared to business units seeking funding and will not move forward as witnessed by prior attempts. So are you stating on behalf of St. Gobain that if you do not get any tax incentives?
As I've explained in the past, that it's part of our process. We always work with the towns and local authorities to look for incentives. We do have example projects where, it's been awarded when those incentives and tax improvements are there. We have examples where it's not, where it's low or there's no incentive and we're not approved. So this is part of our process to bring it forth. So I'm doing what my corporation asks. In bringing a model back relative to working with the town on making investments in the town. And that's why we provided an example in the first slide of just some of those recent ones to just show you that's part of our process of investment.
Understood. And I just wanted to be clear, because it says "and will not move forward," if
I'm sure it'll get impacted.
And $195,000 we've partnered already on in terms of being able to help St. Gobain secure that money, so.
Can I follow up with that? So in parentheses, it says, as witnessed by 5 prior attempts, 2014 to 2022. This investment approach and examples.
Did you prepare this, Todd? Is this your sheet?
I put that together, yeah. So we've tried multiple times with our leadership to get approval
Okay, I see what you're
for,
saying.
yeah, to get approval for renovating the site. And we have not been approved in the last 5 attempts. That's
By-
what that means.
by
our
your
leadership.
corporate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by corporate.
But you didn't try to work with, it didn't come before the town 5 times then?
No, that's
no.
not that we're saying, so, yeah,
No.
agreed, so don't read it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, don't read it from that perspective. But yeah, this is our 6th time putting an investment on the table for this site.
And did that investment in the prior times include the investment you made on the Marlboro side? Were they collectively together?
No, these assessments were just for Northborough, I think, at the time.
No, the assessments, but for the funding, because now you've got a site investment, 30 million in Northborough.
No, this was before.
This is before.
Yeah, this was before,
Yeah.
yeah, agreed.
And on the Marlboro investment, being that they didn't move forward with any TIF, was that project scaled back? Was there more planned for it?
So it was scaled back. So it's not the original scope, and it's lesser than what we planned. By a considerable amount, actually. But that's the nature of the project, so I didn't get the full funds to do the full project.
Any other questions?
Sorry, just to confirm, you said the total project is going to cost you $91 million for this upgrade?
So our current estimates are in that ballpark, and I'm still negotiating, working on cost engineering with the architects on that. Well, that's what I'm proposing back to my corporation to get for funding.
I have a question for Lee. Sorry. So during the years of construction, however long that takes, the property value will decrease?
Without this agreement, so typically, if you have a house, let's just say a house, and I gut it and remodel it, if it's gutted at the beginning of the year, which is my date of value, I am going to be valuing the property just as a shell. So, yeah, the value will drop according to its current state,
Okay.
if that's your question.
Yeah. So your proposal is to keep that consistent and not reflect any kind of depreciation during the construction years?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? And so one final thing, just to review that the corporate model is that they look for some sort of participation from the community where you're.
And that's why we provided some of those examples. And I don't know if Leslie have anything to comment on that as well.
Yes, we've taken to heart your questions from the past. We wanted to make sure that we understood the model. We addressed, as in a very sincere way, the question about need. We went back and looked internally and identified a whole series of projects where we could actually make a direct comparison between the request that was made at a local and state level versus what the outcome was. And what we did see was there was a very clear pattern that in cases where there was no economic assistance provided or very minimal economic assistance, no project funding occurred.
And we have economic assistance of $195,000 to date, assuming the project
So
moves forward.
let me add one more comment if I could be permitted. I apologize, I shouldn't have interjected. I would ask the group to please look at this from a risk perspective and a win-win perspective. What's the risk to the community? Well, you're being guaranteed a baseline that theoretically there is no risk associated with the awarding of this TIF. There's a little administrative overhead, but beyond that, there really is no risk. You've got a baseline tax level that's going to be available to you. The win-win that comes out of the other side of this is that you're going to have a campus that you're going to be able to promote as, look at this beautiful place that people love coming and working at. There's going to be job growth, and I grant you, we've been down this path to talk about what is the impact or not the impact of jobs. But again, it becomes a magnet. It begins, people see other things going. We see how lively that campus is. They begin to put another restaurant down the street. They think, oh, that's got good proximity. So there are some spinoffs that occur as a result of this. So I would ask you please to look at it from the standpoint of partnering with the company to make this project happen. There are no guarantees that it's going to happen. We need every bit of support that we can garner from the local and the state community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll just reiterate that too, because I think, putting investment, as the leader of the site now, putting investment to site for my employees and growing the employee population at site is important for our research community here in Massachusetts. And I think I stated before, I'm looking to kind of consolidate other sites to this site. And that's a choice I'm making, really, to put the investment here in Northborough. I think our employees, they love the site, they love being in Northborough. So I think we do create some nice community activity. We're part of the community, and I think all that we want to continue to grow. Okay, and yeah, we do look to make sure that we're kind of working with our local, partners to make sure we kind of, have support in those investments.
And that's contemplated in the 60 additional full-time heads that would be with the build-out.
Yes.
And 5% of your workforce currently lives in Northborough?
Could there be a special, a hiring preference for people from Northborough where they would get, I don't know. No?
No. Save that for executive session.
I just didn't know, I mean, I don't work in this type of a business, but it would be nice to just try and figure out how we can keep as much of the benefits in our town.
We do put a lot of community support back into the town.
No, I
think
hear
we do
what
that
you're
through many, partnerships with local, organizations in
Yeah.
Northborough and community giving and the like, so.
I think it was $10,000. Was that the numbers we looked at?
We had those.
Yeah.
Say over the last 5 years, it's been about $32,000.
Yeah, so a couple of grand a year. No, I appreciate this. I'm just gonna, I think you can probably tell from the nature of my questions, the things I'm gonna struggle with are precedent setting for other companies to come in and have similar conversations, and we are having another tip we're contemplating for an investment with White Cliffs that I think you may have attended. So those are all taxpayer dollars going to work outside of all the other costs. We have a brand new fire station we're building. It's gonna be great. So that's the struggle. And then with the residents seeing their taxes accelerate so quickly, I think the idea of a company that, that has $4 billion of free cash flow and $50 billion market cap, doing this at the cost of what that money could do for Northborough, recognize you don't have to do anything if you choose, but I mean, as illustrated, the first 10 years, Northborough recognizes a third of the value. Bonds would recognize 2/3 of the value of any tax increase as modeled here. And I know it's illustrative and the numbers are smaller than before. So I think those are the things that are just from a select board perspective are challenging.
And I guess I would comment that we're not a new company coming in. We're here 40 years and hopefully another 40 years. And so kind of we're hoping based on that engagement over these many years and our being a good part in the community, you can take that in consideration. Okay? And I think the other piece too, which I'll just kind of reiterate, we're a professional workforce, so that high payroll is unique to us in our R&D site. You don't have those at all of our other investments when it comes to, manufacturing sites. And again, Saint-Gobain does put a lot of investment back into the company. I think we have 160 manufacturing sites in North America. So my one R&D site's competing with 160 manufacturing sites. So there's...
But competing with 0 R&D sites. It's a great campus you guys have.
So it is that environment. Okay? So, okay.
But our employees have a choice as to where they want to have their R&D. So they don't necessarily have to have R&D at our site. There are, I think, 100 R&D centers across all of US.
Yeah, we have 100 development centers.
We're just trying to get them all
We're
here.
the largest research center. Yeah. Really.
All right, any other questions?
Sorry if I asked a bad question.
No?
No. There's no such thing as a stupid
Jacob,
question.
has his hand up.
Oh, thanks. Yes, Jacob.
Thanks, very thoughtful. Appreciate the presentation, and I did want to say to Ms. Rubin that I really greatly appreciate the clarifications that you've given us today. I take to heart your comments, and we'll give this due consideration.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more question. Do you ever go into the high schools and talk about?
Yes, actually. So we have done work with the high schools. We're a big component of STEM. We've actually run programs where we've had programs called Scientists in the Classrooms. We work with, I think we've had the Northborough High or middle school over to visit our campus a
Wow.
couple times to do tours. So we host those events quite often, actually. And we do it at various levels, so at the college level, but also at the high school level.
Great, great. I imagine Worcester, what is the tech school in Worcester?
The Worcester Voc?
Yeah, no, the college.
Oh, WPI?
WPI, yeah.
We do quite a bit of work with WPI, actually. We're trying to grow our interactions with them. We used to run a program called Scientists in the Classroom with Youth Build in the Worcester area, so the whole Worcester County area, where scientists went into the classrooms and taught, a part of volunteering to provide STEM education back to youth build students, who are really looking to understand construction, which we do in terms of building construction materials. So we've run many programs like that over the years.
That's
Just
great.
recently, didn't you do a clean tech event over at WPI too?
Yeah, they have a clean tech hub at WPI. We're trying to support them on. It's an investment from Mass CEC, actually, in the state, in terms of innovation in clean technologies. So,
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks
Well
again
said.
for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thanks
very much.
And
Appreciate
we
it.
do appreciate your support.
and
in
appreciate
the-
the questions as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Next on the agenda is permit fee updates, but we are going to pass over that because.
Darn.
Your big chance. So we will move on to number 5 on the agenda, which is request to support FY 2026 Green Communities Decarbonization Grant. Do we have anyone presenting that?
Oh, is Sean here?
Yep.
Okay.
You could let Sean in. There he is.
So this is to support a $500,000 grant, which would help fund the HVAC upgrades and attic insulation in this building.
Yeah, and weatherization.
Okay. Hi, Sean.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? We're looking forward to your explanation of this, please.
Okay, so I had given Scott a memo that basically just outlines what we're looking to do with the funds if we get the grant, and how it supports the HVAC project, which would give us a little bit more flexibility with other improvements in the building. Really, the only downside I can see from the grant, which isn't really much, is that we would lose eligibility for the following 2 years. But at this point, we've addressed the majority of the stuff in our buildings that Green Communities covers as far as weatherization and energy improvements. I haven't received any requests from the schools in the last 2 or 3 years for any projects, so I think this would be a great time to go for this larger grant for the benefits outlined in the memo, as well as just we're at a point where we don't have as much of a need. So if we're going to take a 2-year hiatus from the Green Communities grants, I think now is the perfect time. If you guys have any questions about the memo or the grant itself, I'm here to clarify anything you guys may need.
Matching funds would be 125,000. It's 25%.
Yeah, so we already have, I think it's like 1.4 million allocated between the 2 old town meeting articles and the one that was just approved this year in town meeting. So the match won't be an issue. The big benefit of the grant is it allows us to insulate the attic space in town hall. Currently, we have an R6 insulation rating in the attic. It's because the roof's 36 years old, and that's what was required at the time. So without insulation or weatherization, whether it be redoing the roof or doing it as part of this project, we're wasting significant utility money just going up in smoke. So we could address that by doing the roof, which is something we would need to do in the future anyway. As I said, the roof's already 36 years old. But doing it this way with the grant allows us to potentially reduce the cost of the roof replacement down the road, because now we won't have to insulate as heavily when doing the roof replacement, because we'll already have the necessary R value up in that attic space. So yeah.
Any questions from the board?
He answered. Oh, yeah. I was going to ask a question because I feel like we had a very lengthy discussion about the AC units, and it sounds like this will be we'll have more money to do more. Correct?
Yeah, so I mean, my thought behind it is, I mean, one of the old town meeting articles from 2012 was just for building improvements. It didn't specify HVAC, whereas the second one was meant for the boiler replacements at Town Hall. The boilers have been replaced. We got a new one in 2021, my first year here, and the second one was replaced in 2022. So that with the HVAC being 40 years old, the air conditioning portion of it, I think this would be a good use of those funds. We have several offices in the building that either have no AC currently or no heat. We currently install 13 window units every summer to help in the offices that don't have it. Or there's other offices, because as we've expanded as a town, we've kind of piecemealed together, like building offices randomly in the building. And the general conversion from school to building wasn't great anyway. So some of the AC units are for offices without AC. Some are to supplement the existing split systems because they're either not ducted properly or aren't sized properly for the space that they're using. So by doing this whole project, we'll be getting ventilation into the building. We'll be addressing the comfort level throughout the building, and it will just be a more efficiently run building. We're going to spend less money on utilities because we're not using space heaters or window units to supplement our heating and cooling needs.
I'm sorry?
Are we still using the mini splits or not? I'm so confused. I'm sorry.
Wait, sorry, ask the question.
Are we still using the mini splits then or no? We had approved.
Yeah, but he was saying that they're inefficient, right? The current mini splits that you have?
So the split systems that we have currently, right now there's 12 standard split systems. So they're units that are in an office, ducted to feed certain areas of that office. Then we have 3 mini splits that are new, 2 of them in MIS that went to replace a standard unit in the server room when it died. And then there's another one that was installed last year for the accountant's office.
Yeah.
Because that office was built in an area of the building where there was no heat or AC. So to provide heat and AC for our accountant, the most cost-effective way to do it was to put in a mini split. So we'll be keeping those 3 mini splits, but the new HVAC project will eliminate the existing standard split systems, replacing them with heat pumps so that we only have to use the steam boilers when temperatures drop below 5 degrees.
Thank you for
So we'll
clarifying.
be
Sorry. about
significantly reducing our gas usage while also addressing the major deficiencies throughout the building as far as HVAC goes.
Sean, just a couple questions. Has there been analysis done on what the operating cost is of electricity versus gas in these? I've had some conflicting data that's been presented to me. I'm not sure if you've been able to quantify that or not.
So right now, as part of the grant, we are working with the MEP, a company called Rise that was given to us by National Grid and Eversource, and they're doing all those load calculations currently. So based on what their report is, so I have a follow-up meeting with everybody involved in applying for the grant on Wednesday, where we should be seeing those numbers. But they're basically, what their job is to make sure that the project we're proposing will reduce our current energy consumption overall between the gas and the electric. If we're not reducing it enough, then we won't qualify for the grant. So in order to qualify for this grant, we need to show a reduction overall. So it will be a net positive for us from a utility standpoint. I just don't know what those numbers are yet.
And the way I understand that, we could, I mean, rate matters too, I think, in this conversation. So like, we have a reduction in what we use for energy, but then there's a rate that's applied to it. And if electricity is that much more expensive than the gas, which I think in some instances it could be, that analysis I'd like to see, just to say, okay, holistically, what's the operating cost if we do this? What's the operating cost if we don't do this? I think that, and the other piece would be useful is the $125,000 that's the additional dollars that would come to the town, I think, right? We'd apply, it would be 125, not 500.
No, so we're gonna get 500. We just have to match it with the 125.
25%.
Oh,
So-
even better. So it's a 375 net.
Yeah.
No, because we're spending the 125 regardless. They just want to know that we're invested in the project. So the 125 was getting spent no matter what.
Okay.
It's just by us showing them we're spending the 125, they're comfortable giving us the 5.
Okay. And should I think about that as just a one-to-one reduction of what we would have spent otherwise? Or is there an increased amount of scope or things, or additional costs we would need to do to make sure that?
So the additional cost is the weatherization portion of it, the 287, which Green Communities would require us to do, because if we don't do that, the heat pumps are only going to operate until, say, 40 degrees out. So that's a significant more amount of time that you'd be relying on the inefficient steam heat. But in order to realize the benefits of the project anyway, the insulation would need to be done regardless. So technically, the 287 would be an additional requirement to what the original scope of the project was, but it's going to save us significantly more money in the long term. So by using the 500,000, yeah, 287 is going to the insulation, but that's, again, an overall benefit to us regardless of what heating or cooling source we're using. And then the additional 213,000 can be put towards the initial project itself and bring that money back to us for other needs.
Jacob, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Appreciate the presentation, Sean, and appreciate you anticipating a lot of my questions. As always, when we're looking at grant money, I always want to know what are the strings attached. And unless there's any that you haven't pointed out, I appreciate you letting us know what the strings are, including the disqualification for 2 years, and pointing that out for us. And I do have a question about where the 287 for the weatherization came from. Is that our number, or is that a number they gave, or?
So that's a number from a company that does these projects regularly for Green Communities. There are a variety of companies out there that do the work, so we're not necessarily tied into using this vendor. We could source other projects like so with Green Communities, any project under $300,000 doesn't need to be bid out. You're welcome to bid it out. Anything over 300,000 has to be bid out. So the HVAC portion is definitely getting bid out. The 287 is something I'd be interested in bidding out, at least to 2 other vendors, just to kind of get an idea of if this guy's out of his mind or not. I've talked to a handful of other vendors about the project, and they've all been in roughly the same ballpark. And it's because in order to get the amount of insulation sprayed in there that you need, they're going to need to make 2 to 3 passes through the attic. It's going to take about a week for the project to complete, start to finish. And I neglected to mention this, but it's I believe it's in the memo. We would need to close town offices for a period of time depending on how we want to stage the insulation portion of the project, because you can't be in the building for 24 hours after they complete. So we could have them, say, do Friday, Saturday work, and then return to the building on Monday, and then do it again the following weekend. We could, I mean, this is all logistics that we can talk out after the fact, but those are some things that will need to be considered for that portion of the project.
Yeah, actually, you
If
did
I-
mention that somewhere, that,
Yeah, and we're all set
Is that
up.
because of the spray, the expanding foam insulation off gases for a little while?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So that was my other question. So this seems like how many feet of clearance in the attic is there to work in? I haven't been up there
So
myself.
there's about 3.5 to 4 feet of dead space between the ceiling you see when you walk through the hallway and the roof itself. So the
Okay.
idea would be to spray the rafters of the roof so that when we remove the roof down the road, the insulation will still stay in place. So then we can redo the roof at a reduced cost because we don't need to add those extra layers of insulation. And they also spray foam down the wall area about 2 feet throughout the whole attic. And that's to encapsulate the attic space so that it doesn't become moist or damp. So you're basically enclosing the attic, basically turning the attic into a conditioned space, for lack of a better term.
So it's not sorry to get super in the weeds here. So there's no like soffits where there's supposed to be ventilation for this attic or anything like that?
No. And by encapsulating it, you eliminate the need for ventilation because it becomes part of the conditioned space. So we did a similar project at my old job. We had these apartment communities, and that really bad winter in like 2011 where everybody got ice dams. It was 700 apartments. I had 450 ice dams. We insulated the attic in the way I'm describing now in all the buildings. And they haven't had a single ice dam at that property since. And that was before that winter of 120 inches of snow or whatever we got. So it's an effective way to address those types of issues.
Thanks. One more final thought from me, Madam Chair. I like the idea here, especially since we're kind of committed to using this building. So let's make it comfortable and efficient. I'm a little bit concerned about the 287. I would encourage us to, if we get to that point, bidding it out. Even if it's under the 300K, 287 for 10,000 square feet of R47, even if it's sprayed in, seems really high to me. I know you all think lawyers can't do construction, but I'm actually up here in Washington. I just added to a duplex 2,000 square feet of attic space insulation from about R5 to about R45 with my father-in-law and me. That's why I'm up here, one of the reasons. And it was about $1 per square foot. So obviously a municipality is not going to do it at the same cost as little old me, but 287 just seemed really, really high.
Yeah, and again, I don't disagree with that. It seemed high to me too. I was expecting it to be more in the 150 range. But I had him price it for off hours work. So depending on how we decide to approach the actual project portion of it, we may be able to reduce that on future bids as well if we're going to allow them to work normal hours. But we're paying prevailing wage at overtime rates with that proposal because I just wanted to be cautious and make sure that we're anticipating keeping the office open regular hours and then have the ability to play around with it if we decide to.
any other
That's all.
questions?
Sean, this is Mike Tejan. The grant itself, it's for decarbonizing current buildings, right? So this couldn't be used, say, towards the heat, geothermal on a new fire station?
Yeah, correct. So the way Green Communities works is back in, I think it was 2018, I don't know, it was before I got here. John determined which buildings we wanted to have included in the green communities. And so out of that list of buildings, we had a rep go through and identify all the projects that we could do, what the cost would be, what the incentives would be, and how much of that would be covered by green communities. We've run through the majority of those projects, some of which we couldn't do because some of the things green communities covered has changed over the years. Like when I first started, we could do LED lighting. Then they went to just 50% coverage of LED lighting and only for schools, which is why we did the library and senior center and town hall through National Grid's on-bill payment program. So it changes year to year, but the fire station not being on the list and obviously not being an existing building doesn't qualify. Everything they give us money-wise is to help reduce the existing buildings. Our commitment was to reduce our energy usage by 20%. So as we do each one of these projects, everything comes down a little bit and a little bit and a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
And
Go ahead.
John, just to speak to your thing about electric rates, I totally understand. But as we're working with the MEP, we're trying to put limited stuff on the roof. My thought is if we go electric and things continue to go the way they are, we have the opportunity down the road when we do the roof to possibly go solar. I mean, I know the senior center is another big building I'd love to do solar with just because that's an all-electric building. So the MEP's designs are minimizing the amount of stuff on the roof to give us an option down the road for solar on the building. And we do an electrical aggregation for the town buildings every 3 to 5 years where we lock in a fixed rate for a period of time for our facilities to help reduce those fluctuations.
Thank you, Sean. And when we do explore that, I'd really like to get involved in buy versus lease. Just seeing the economics of what we're doing at the high school was not a very financially compelling win for Northborough. It meets a lot of green initiatives, but I think you can meet the green initiatives and a financial win for Northborough. So would love to get deeper discussions on buying versus leasing and the economics if we're going to go down that road.
Yeah, and everything is kind of in flux right now in that market as far as what businesses are doing because of everything going on with the federal tax credit coming up at the end of the year and all that. I'm actually just doing solar on my house now, which is why I know. So they're definitely changing how they structure those leases because the companies are still eligible for the rebates, but consumers aren't. So there's ways where they reduce your cost by whatever their rebate is to save you money on that end. But that's something we can get to down the road.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sean,
Yeah.
I just have a quick, go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Yeah, Sean, just another question. On bottom of page 2 of the memo, it says replace the building's inefficient boiler system. So would the grant require us to remove the gas boilers, or would we just be looking?
No, so the steam boilers will stay. They will operate, and there'll be a switch installed, like an automatic switch over. Basically, if the outside air temperature drops below 5 degrees, we will switch to the steam heat. The reason why I say inefficient boilers, they're new, but steam heat is outside of like electric baseboard is one of the most inefficient heating systems you can have. We've taken steps to address that through National Grid we did a steam trap study. So they're coming back in the next couple weeks to replace a bunch of failed steam traps, which will help with our steam usage and reduce that. But steam heat, especially the way it's laid out in this building, very piecemeal because of the way the renovations have been done. It's just not a great way. The building, I mean, you've all been in there. There's 2 temperatures. It's cold or it's boiling. There's no.
We were
in
just
between.
saying that today.
Okay. And the triggering event would just be the outside temperature, right? So theoretically, and I don't know if the grant has this kind of requirement, like, if for some reason natural gas is cheap and electric isn't, we couldn't overuse or use our gas boilers more and our electric less. It has to be tied to a specific temperature, I assume the temperature where the heat pumps are less or more effective.
I mean, yeah, I mean, once you get below 5 degrees, unless we wanted to get significantly more expensive equipment, which we could, and then they would work down into negative temperatures, but the savings versus the cost, the additional cost doesn't make sense to me. It would be much more effective to just have that 5 degree switch over temperature. The amount of money we're going to pay in that steam heat, like it would take probably, and I'd have to do the math on it, but I would guess probably 10 to 12 years to make up the additional equipment cost if we just wanted to go strictly electric, no steam at all. So they, and we've discussed this with them, they're fine with a 5 degree switch over because we got maybe 20 days a year where we'll need to be operating the steam, and then the rest of the time we'll be using the heat pumps.
But I think the question was, if in a given year, it's much cheaper to run the steam heat as opposed to the electric, do we have to run the electric because of because it's cleaner?
No, I mean, once we get the grant and we get the equipment installed, theoretically, we can do whatever we want. I mean, I think it's just in good faith and in moving forward with our town's initiatives, it would be best to use the electric as much as we can. But if we're spending $500 a month to do the electric and it's $200 a month to run the steam, we can run the steam. It's just, it's not the intention of the grant by any means.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Oh, a public comment. Lisa? Yeah, please.
Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. A couple of things I'm concerned about. I got word that the electric companies are asking for a 35% increase coming up, which is a significant amount of money. And if we're going to be putting everything toward electric, not us here, but in general, electric cars, electric heat, mini splits, that cost is going to increase again because of supply and demand. So if we start to rely on a lot of electricity, just for an example, the senior center was $5,000 a month, 2 or 3 years ago? We found that out when the system went down, the heat pump system went down. So we don't really we have to look at numbers before we make a choice. I would think that when you're getting a grant to do something, you need to have more hard and fast numbers and decide on, in fact, how much it's possibly going to cost, so that you don't jump thinking you're going to save something or do something great for green and something bad for taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what Sean was discussing, whether or not we want to go with steam when electric gets expensive and then incorporate solar. And these are all thoughts that we have to be sustainable.
But this is a way of providing heat to portions of this building that have no heat, air conditioning to uncomfortable rooms.
And ventilation.
Yeah.
That's come winter, watch just like last winter, everyone's sick altogether. And it's like, there's no airflow.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question? On page 2 of your memo, you say the full scope of this HVAC work is estimated to be $1.3 million, excluding design costs. Okay, so if we got the grant for 500, you say we already have $125,000 somewhere in some account. Where's the rest of the money going to come from?
So currently, right now, we have Article 24 from 2012. It was originally an $802,000 warrant. There's $692,800 left. In 2012, Article 37 was initially $350,000, and that was intended to replace the steam boilers. We have $294,900 left in that. And then in 2025, Article 19, we were given $470,000 for HVAC improvements. So that
we have the money to
totals up
cover it.
1.4 something. So we have the money to do it without the grant. Again, my thought was just, we were trending, we have to replace the AC units regardless. If we want to keep steam as the heat, that's fine. It was just, my thought was, if we can get this $500,000, it not only allows us to address the inadequate insulation, which is costing us money with our current setup, it also would then theoretically give us a minimum of $213,000 left in that building improvements Article 24 from 2012, which we could use to address other issues. Like, I know a big thing I hear from staff every day is, when are we getting new carpets? I know people have mentioned maybe painting. We have the roof eventually needing to be done. So that just, it allows us to get the AC units replaced. It allows us to insulate the building, reducing our operational expenses, while also potentially giving us extra money to address any other needs that you guys see fit after the fact. Whereas if we just go without the grant, based on the rough estimate, we should still have about $100,000 left over. But if it's much better to have 300,000 left over than 100, I would think.
Well, thank you very much for finding this grant, and you certainly have analyzed all the numbers. I think I can speak for the board that we appreciate that. Okay, any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve applying for this grant?
Is it?
Madam Chair, may I?
Oh, sorry, Jacob.
I move, I think this is the right, I move the board vote to support the submission of the town's application for a $500,000 fiscal year 2026 Green Communities Decarbonization Grant to the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources, DOER, to help fund HVAC upgrades and attic installation at the town offices, with a required town match of $125,000 to be funded from previously approved capital articles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, motion made by Jacob, seconded by Laura. Any other discussion? John, did you have a quick question?
I think just goes back to, it would be nice to just use some numbers. Maybe doing it, not doing it, operating costs, somehow, I feel like I'm dealing with a little bit of unknown in the conversation without seeing the numbers. Not sure if taking this step obligates us and we can do that before we make a decision, but not seeing the numbers for me is not entirely comfortable with.
So, I'll get clarification in my meeting Wednesday, but, we have to apply by October 22nd. If we're awarded the grant, I don't know that we necessarily have to do it. If once you see the numbers, you don't feel comfortable, I'm sure they'd be happy to take the money back. But I anticipate having some electrical usage numbers given to me at my meeting on Wednesday, and so I can send those along for you guys to look at that point as well.
We're having a meeting Thursday. Would you feel more comfortable if?
Yeah, I'd feel more comfortable maybe Thursday. I would like to see, again, how much did we spend in steam operating costs for heating through steam and electric, and see, just kind of detail it out a little bit.
Will you have that detailed information back?
On Wednesday?
Basically what they're doing is they're getting all the information from the proposed new equipment, and they are comparing the projected usage of that equipment versus our current electrical and gas spend.
That's Pretty good.
So it's not exactly what you're looking for, but it will give you a better idea of which direction we're trending versus spending more, spending less.
So do you want me to put it toward the October 9th agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to see
Trying to
it.
figure out how we, because there's a motion on the table.
Right. Well, and I guess, where else,
I mean,
What
if
else would we
it's
apply for?
easier and you guys want to vote, I can always, you could vote, I could give you the numbers, and then if you look at the numbers and don't want to move forward, we just don't submit the application on the 22nd.
We can amend the motion to depend on what information you get from, it's RISE you mentioned is the,
Yeah, yep.
and so it would depend on favorable numbers from your meeting with RISE. And that would be the amendment to the motion.
So can I make a question?
Yes.
Make a question, that's what we say in Portuguese. Can I ask a question? Sean, I know your meeting's Wednesday, and I know you've got a lot that you're juggling. How confident do you think you could send Steph, and Steph could circulate to us so a summary of your information before our, what day is it? The 9th meeting? Yep. Thursday? So we're meeting at 6:30, I think, on Thursday. I'm kind of with John where I'd like to see those, and if there's no harm, no foul, because we don't have to go till the 22nd, I'd kind of be, I want to know, Sean, if you think it's feasible to get us a summary after, sometime on Thursday before our meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if I get the numbers as expected on Wednesday, then I can put some, because I'm meeting with them at 2:00. So between Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning, I can put something together and get it to Scott to get to Stephanie.
I mean, my 2 cents, Madam Chair, is I don't see a whole lot of hurt and pain. I know, our agendas are always full and these meetings go long, and but I kind of think, to John's point, it would be nice to have that info, and if we're okay with that, I'd be happy to just withdraw my motion and ask that we table this one till Thursday.
Okay, well, thank you. So you have formally withdrawn your motion, and
Yeah.
by consensus, we will get the information and have a quick vote on Thursday. Is everyone in agreement with that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sean.
Sean.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, guys, have a good night.
You too.
Two.
Okay, next we move on to, what are we moving on to? Request to accept another grant, the Mass DOT grant for Route 9 Water Main Extension. Is anyone presenting on this, or?
I will, because
Okay,
Scott's
thank you.
out. So this is not contingent on any town money. It's $951,807 grant from Mass DOT. 5 private drinking water wells were contaminated with sodium chloride from their facility. That's why they're being gracious and paying for a whole new water line extension. So Northborough's portion is Lawrence Street and crosses Belmont Street to serve Lexus of Northborough. Yeah, and it will contain all the subject parcels. They oversaw the design process in conjunction with the town reviews, which is now complete. They now offer to provide funding for the project bidding and construction phases, including engineering as well as all physical improvements. So there's really, and I was looking through the description, it's just operate and maintain 5 new, the reoccurring cost or maintenance obligations for Northborough would be to operate and maintain 5 new service connections, 650 feet of water main, and 2 hydrants. But, to clean up people's water, I think that's
And
nothing.
if they're going to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Oh, how did they get contaminated?
Runoff.
From
It's
what?
the salt storage,
The salt,
right?
yeah.
Highway salt.
They use sodium chloride for
So I'm trying to
de-icing.
see where is their salt shed over there?
Well, it could be, who knows, it could be, the liquid that they put on the streets before the freeze, or it could be, I don't know if, something, I don't know the particulars in what spilt or what, was not encatched properly, I don't know. But all I know is they admitted to fault, and this is how they're correcting it.
I'm just curious if there's other places in town. Is it just
We would
along Route
know.
9?
We would know by well testing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough, sorry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And does that amount, does that, I would assume, also include the cost to hook up these residents to that new line? Right, they're not gonna have to pay.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, that is a good
Or
question.
something to-
Mass DOT condemned private wells,
didn't-
funding extension to our water system to serve the affected location, so I believe so. Which would fund a
Like to
water main
think so,
extension. I know, I'm
That
not
can be
sure.
really
Here's
expensive.
fresh water, go get it, you know what I mean?
No, right, North Wales. Well, it just says, as well as all physical improvements. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Laura, you have a question?
I'm so sorry, this seems really expensive. 900, it's like almost $1 million grant for 5 properties to get water?
Well, it's such a liability. They have to probably, and you know what? It could be, now that I'm thinking of it, it could be a leak in the line itself and the runoff from the property. I don't know. I wish, we should have kept Sean on. He might have known this.
He was on for a little bit, too.
I wasn't even thinking that.
Like, are there gonna be other businesses or other properties that are gonna have access to the water main, or is it just?
I think it's just for, that whole strip, because it says also in conjunction with, it would, proposes new water main on Belmont going west to serve the subject parcels. They oversaw Lawrence Street crossing Belmont, Lexus of Northborough. So let's see, what is the deadline for town approval is 11/4. So I don't know if you want,
I mean, it's not our money, it's just more of a curiosity for me.
yeah.
And I wanna make sure that the people that live
I
there
mean,
have
I
safe
guess,
drinking
let's
water.
just say, if they weren't paying for the connection, I guess at that point, it's the person's decision whether or not they want to connect to that new line.
Well, the only thing is, I think Mike makes a great point. I think hookup can be really expensive. So, we'd like them to help the homeowners.
I know, I just don't know.
And the homeowners or businesses?
Well, I was gonna say, is it homeowners or?
Well,
is it-
it says Lexus.
5 private
So that's a business,
There's 5 private drinking wells.
yeah. So instead of them, having a well now, they would have town water, and that's the expense. I forget,
Yes, I don't
years
really see any
ago,
houses, though.
years ago, it used to be like 500,
Still be private,
Scott would
not a
laugh
house,
at me,
though.
but I think it's like 500
Private, not a house, business.
Right,
dollars
yeah.
per foot or
Belmont is
something.
Route
It's
9.
something crazy.
Yeah.
Lawrence isn't
Yeah.
affected.
Okay, so does anyone have a suggestion about how to move forward with this?
Yeah, I can, how about, want me to just bring it back on the 9th? I'll find out more information.
When is the deadline here, or?
November 4th.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's my only concern is not, is there something if we ask a question that guarantees maybe a resident?
Route 9,
yeah.
will they connect to home / business?
And if not, what the cost to the
And
property?
if not, what cost? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to number 7, request to accept an FY 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant. And this is for equipment for the firefighters.
I thought he said he was
Is
coming.
Chief Parenti coming, or?
I thought he was. You don't see him, right?
I don't see him now.
Well, anyway, this is so we would have to, the town would cover 5%, it's the local cost share, which is $2,223.91. It's for protective equipment for the 8 safer firefighters, because it's through FEMA. They would have a complete set of turnout gear. They would have SCBA compliant face pieces, personnel safety, rescue bailout systems. Let's see here. FEMA reduced the requested funding. This means the total award does not cover the total cost, with an additional $6,946.10 required. This would be charged to the fire department capital budget. So when it says the description of town matching funds, it's just 5%, which is the $2,223.91. The reoccurring maintenance of PPE is incidental and built into the regular operating budget. Examples would be repair or replacement of damaged equipment over the 10-year lifespan.
And
After you.
Are you open to questions, Stephanie?
Sure, why not?
No, I was just going to say, one question I had that I had emailed the chief about was, how does this work in conjunction with the ARPA money that was allocated towards equipment and gear for the safer firefighters? Where that ARPA funding paid for the first set, this is essentially paying for the second set that they have. So that's how, if there was any question about sort of how that
Okay, yeah,
ARPA money
that's
worked
good.
in conjunction with this, that's what this is funding.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So last year at town meeting, the chief passed over the fire equipment article for $165,000, but this award is only for $44,000. So why, what else is being missed?
Well, he said it's specific to the 8 safer firefighters, so just the 8, so not the whole caboodle. But in the letter reads, you've been approved the amount of $44,478.09 in federal funding. As a condition of this grant, you're required to contribute non-federal funds equal to or greater than 5% of the federal funds awarded, or $2,223.91, for a total approved budget of $46,702. Please see the fiscal year 24 FG notice funding opportunity.
I just thought when he said that we got the grant and we passed over it, I assumed the grant would be for $165,000 and not so much less.
Well, no, I think this is for,
I was supposed to deliver that article and then, hey, we're going to pass it over. I think the 165.
but then remember, he got that grant, he got the equipment grant, that's why we didn't need to.
This is the grant letter that he was talking about last
Oh,
year.
okay.
But the difference in money is a lot. So I just don't know if we're getting less equipment now. I don't know why we would have withdrawn that whole article if we should have just withdrawn like $44,478. I just don't know.
Oh, wait, well, now that
looking right
rings
here.
a bell, I was thinking it was a totally different
So
grant.
here's the article right here that was passed over.
Okay.
Article 18,
And what's the number on that, like the?
$165,000.
Or, does it say specifically? With
Personal protective equipment. And he said it was the FEMA grant for equipment.
My understanding, asking questions about that article at the time, was that the 165 was for all firefighters.
That's what I thought, yeah, and this one specifically says the 8
I
fire.
got notified that he got the grant, so why didn't he just reduce the article so that we still could have gotten the rest of the equipment?
Well, this is,
Totally-
but isn't this the second, wait, hold on, let's see.
Oh, was that for
The second portion?
first round of equipment, the first?
Yeah, okay, okay, let's just read this.
I mean, I'm gonna still, I'm gonna accept the grant. I just would like to know why we requested 165 and we only got
Specifically, the one.
44.
Yeah, it says specifically, the awarded funding will be used to provide essential protective equipment for the 8 additional firefighters recently hired through the SAFER grant. SAFER funding. These investments will ensure all newly hired firefighters are equipped with the National Fire Protection Association compliant gear.
Please.
I'm sorry, I walked in partway through this conversation. But the 165 was passed over. if that-
Yes.
that helps.
Yep.
I don't know.
I just didn't understand why we passed over 165, which was what we needed for PPE, and we knew that we got the grant, but we only got a grant for 44,000, or that,
Or is this different? Is this different from the?
I believe this is a different grant.
That's what I was thinking, because why would, yeah, it's two totally
but
different numbers.
the article for town meeting was to have the taxpayers approve that article to fund the PPE. And we passed it over because we got a grant.
Yeah, but wasn't that the, like, I'm probably saying this wrong, wasn't it like the PFAS gear, like it was specific? This is different gear. This is the, well,
No,
so
this
it's,
is PPE.
it's, yeah, turnout, yeah.
Well, I think it all has to be PFAS free now.
I just don't know.
Supposed to be, or
My understanding, having been on the financial planning committee and this coming before us, was that there was the chief represented at the time that he wasn't advocating for the grant, I mean, for the funds, and the select board was telling him to bring it to financial planning committee at the time. And when we had further dialogue, it was saying we were gonna do it over years and we're compliant because it was 2027 and there was no need to go do a mass overhaul and we had enough. So there was a staging of it and then there was a reduction of it. So I don't know how the $44,000 plays into that
I don't
bigger
either.
conversation of 165 that we had last year.
Well, somewhere
Passed it
we,
over because we got a grant.
Was it a grant? Is that the reason it was passed over?
Said he got a FEMA grant for the PPE.
I believe the plan, sorry if I'm not on my phone, but the plan was to enter a smaller amount in the operating budget on a yearly basis rather than replacing everything at once with the 165. The plan for the 165 was to replace everybody's gear all at once. So-
Oh, yeah, that's, okay, now it's coming back, you're right.
So we
Yeah.
were in compliance. That was a misunderstanding, I think, when that, when the article was conceived of to replace everything, that we weren't in compliance with it being PFAS free. When that was a requirement for new gear purchased after, I think it was, John, you may have a better memory of the date than I do. I think it was July 1st, 2020.
27? Yeah, no, I recall it the same way. It's like, okay, we'll do these on natural course, not just do everything artificially now. Do it as stuff needs to be retired and in the operating budget over years.
Right, and just skimming through the grant application, it looked like it's for the new firefighters, and it seems like it's additional. I think this is a different grant than the one that replaced, that was going to complement the ARPA allocation that was made for the new PPE for the new firefighters.
And then, so if 8 firefighters aren't hired after the SAFER grant, does the town retain that equipment for other firefighter use, or does it go with the firefighters?
Right, I mean, I think it's specifically sized to the firefighters
Yeah.
that it was ordered for.
Yeah.
It was ARPA that paid for the gear for those firefighters. The SAFER grant did not pay for the gear. That helps.
but this grant is also for personal protective equipment. And so will so it says face pieces, personal safety bailout systems, will that go, if anybody moves to another town, do they take this equipment with them?
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe so.
All right,
The chief is gonna hop on.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
He's gonna hop on. If that makes sense, he's gonna call in.
Oh, okay.
She's like, hop on what? A plane, a train, automobile?
Well, we're waiting for him to.
Yeah, we
Hop
can,
on.
do you want to do meeting minutes quick? Well,
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, all right. Have we had a chance to look at the minutes, and are there any corrections or amendments to that? Jacob, we're going to move on to approving the minutes of August 26th, September 22nd, and the combined financial summit of August 26th. So,
Yeah, would you like me to make those motions? I move, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jacob.
yeah.
Okay, I move that the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of August 26, 2025, the financial summit, as presented.
Second.
Do you want to do the
Oh.
combined motion?
Oh, combined.
Since there are no problems with the.
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
I move the board, I'm gonna revise my motion. I move the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of August 26, 2025, the financial summit, and September 22, 2025, as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Jacob, seconded by Laura. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Jacob?
Yes.
John?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, so we've done that. All right, and we're still waiting for that. Okay, all right, well, I guess we could start with reports while we're waiting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, start with Laura.
I have nothing to report today. Thank you.
John?
I attended the financial planning committee meeting last week virtually. Thought it was a lot of good discussion that the group's doing. It's a lot of time spent on trying to ascribe a value to an option for Elga Banks and White Cliff. So, and so I thought that was interesting. I think as a select board, we have to understand that part a little bit more, but I do like the way the financial planning committee is getting deeply involved in it. Also, listened in on the fire station building committee last week, so I thought that was a productive conversation. And I don't know if it's on our, is it on Thursday's agenda? I think we're going to come back to vote on governance for the financial, for the fire station building committee. for the
It was
success.
on this agenda to talk about bid
Yeah.
savings. I mean, we can,
We're going to go back to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, yeah, but anyways, I thought both were, yeah, a lot of good discussion about the same things we're talking about from other people involved in the committee, so I thought the alignment was really, really good.
Yep. Thank you. Mike?
Not too much to report. There's a Peasley Building Committee meeting tomorrow night that I'll be attending. I received word from Chief Griffin that the speed sign on Church Street should now be fully operational. So if somebody wouldn't mind speeding past it, and let us know. Just kidding. But I know that was a lot of back and forth with the company and technicians going out. Apparently, it's up and running, so hopefully it stays that way. But I think that's all I have for reports this evening.
Okay, I have no report, but Stephanie, you have some interesting,
yeah, so we were brainstorming in our office about how to get more people to town meeting and, you know, to make our budget, our little annual report better. And Linda and Angie came up with Dogs of Northborough because they were thinking of the dog park that we just opened, had the ribbon cutting for on September 26th. So what people do is they submit a picture of their dog and a name, and set your dog up in a place in Northborough, so it could be anywhere, any restaurant or wherever. And then send it to us. They can submit photos between October 1st and January 31st to pawprints@town.northborough.ma.us. Please include your name, your dog's name, and a short note about where you were in town and what you were up to.
What about us cat owners?
I said that because I have 2 cats. That's
Next
next year, right? And then people will be like, what about the horses? Business Trick or Treat Week from October 23rd to the 30th. Northborough businesses will host a trick or treat across the town. Visit at least 10 participating businesses, collect a stamp at each stop, and drop your completed card in the Boo Row box at the Town Hall parking lot entrance for a chance at a grand prize drawing. The schedule will be updated through October 20th, so just go online. The board, you have copies of, it's, you know, the Boo Row business flyer for businesses to participate, and then the residents flyer. And then look at all the businesses that
Looks
are
amazing.
participating already. It's awesome. We're so excited. It's going to be fun. Cybersecurity tabletop exercise, that was awesome, actually. Our Compass IT compliance, we had a tabletop, it was actually a webinar, but we went through a cyber attack, and there was a $850,000 ransom, and what do we do, and who do we call? And it really gets you thinking, because like, that's like my panic. I'm like, oh my God, it happens in a lot of towns that, you know. So we're learning, we're putting our like insurances together, we're putting our, you know, call list. So then we're going to have another big workshop where we'll tie in everything together, and we'll just have an instant plan, and it will be part of our ASCENT plan. So that's great.
The fire.
Oh,
chief,
sorry.
And I know he's away from his family, he had to step out, so.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Interrupt
All
him.
right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, do you mind, Stephanie?
No, not at all.
Hi, Chief. Number of questions came up about the grant.
Oh, he's on mute.
Are you still with us?
Yep, he is.
Hey there, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that, I had to try and get it unmuted.
Okay.
I'm not used to using my iPhone for it, so I apologize. What can I do for you?
Okay, so Laura, could you
Thanks.
repeat your question, please?
Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry for interrupting your family time. I noticed that the grant that we're approving tonight was for $44,478.09. And I recall that at the town meeting, we'd passed over the PPE article because we got the grant, and I was concerned because the article we passed over was $165,000, and this grant is only $46,000. So I'm wondering, is there a shortfall of equipment for firefighters? Because
There
of
is
the
not. That's a great question, Laura. So the original intent, the intent of the original grant was to replace everyone's turnout gear, the entire department. What this grant is doing is providing the second set of turnout gear for our new employees, and we have the money within our capital line and our regular budget to continue with our replacement over the next several years, which will take care of everybody else.
Okay.
So originally, we were trying to get everything up to that PFAS-free level in one shot, if you recall. So interestingly enough, since that time, the manufacturers have had some issues proving that their new gear is PFAS-free. And the state's still requiring it, so we're in kind of this quandary where the state's saying it has to be PFAS-free by a certain date, and the manufacturer having some problems proving that their equipment is PFAS-free. So we're still buying the best turnout gear we can, but the purpose of this grant is to provide all of our new employees with that second set of gear to ensure that they have a clean set to respond to incidences with all the time.
So when will the rest of the firefighters have the appropriate PFAS-free equipment?
So right now, half of them already have it because we've been slowly replacing them. So we have another 4 sets to buy this year and 4 sets the following year. And I believe that will take care of all of our first-in people, all of our people with their first sets. And then we'll start replacing those first 2 sets. We'll drop down to their second 2 sets, and we'll buy another set of first due gear.
So when we, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when we
No, please.
When we originally had the article, were we expecting 165 from the grant?
No, not at all. So, in fact, the grant we had applied for was to do this. And I don't know if you recall when I spoke at the town meeting, this request came up, or excuse me, the request I submitted came up based on the discussion we had at select board meetings, where a couple select board members had said you should replace it all in one time. So that's why we have put that grant forward. Knowing that the town is not flush with cash, there are some budget difficulties we're running into. We tried to look at the best way to do this and spread it out over a period of time, but still get everyone at least their primary sets of gear that they need that are PFAS free, that they wear most of the time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Jacob, yes.
Thanks, Chief, for signing on and helping us with these questions. And Madam Chair, I'm inclined to support this. I think the 5% local match is, it's not very much, and I think we could figure out a way to swing it. But I did have a question. If we have any information about how our PFAS-free gear that we've obtained lately is holding up. I don't know how many, exposures they've had to, lots of heat, but I had read reports that, it's, your mileage may vary depending on who manufactured it and which one it is. And I know we're trying to get the best stuff, which is good. But I'm wondering, I've heard some reports that some manufacturers' gear, PFAS-free gear, is not holding up as well after 1 or 2 exposures and needing to be replaced sooner. And I was wondering,
that's a very, very accurate statement, and it's not just the exposures, it's the laundering. So what happens is, firefighter goes to a call, gear gets soiled, we come back, the first thing they do is wash it. And they're finding out, and it's not the brand that we bought. We did a lot of, when I say we, I mean the committee, it certainly wasn't me. The committee did a lot of research, and they found, I'm going to be tactful, some neighboring departments spent a lot of money on that particular brand, and that's exactly what's happening, Mr. Jones. It's falling apart. The stuff that we bought is really holding up well. The only problem we've had is some of the trim has come off, and we have found that's because the trim that we picked that we thought was nice actually isn't as resilient as we thought it was. So all we're doing is having the trim replaced, and the gear's fine.
okay, well, thanks for keeping an eye on that, and appreciate you choosing good gear for our firefighters.
Certainly. Anything else I can do for you guys?
Is there a warranty on those then?
It depends on what caused the failure, Julianne. So there's no, we have to replace them every 10 years, no matter what. That's what the National Fire Protection Association says. If we follow all the rules and it starts becoming unstitched and it starts having problems, then yes, they stand behind their product. If it's because it wasn't laundered properly, because it was exposed to a chemical, that's a different ballgame.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any other comments?
No, thank you.
All right, then, are we ready to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that the board vote to accept a U.S. Department of Homeland Security FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant in the amount of $44,478.09 in federal funding with a required 5% non-federal match of $2,223.91 for a total project budget of $46,702 even to fund personal protective equipment for 8 new firefighters, including complete turnout gear, SCBA face pieces, and personal safety rescue bailout systems, with a performance period of September 27, 2025 through September 26, 2027, and to authorize the town administrator to execute any related documents.
Second.
Motion made
Yeah,
by
of
Mike,
course.
seconded by Laura. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Jacob?
Yes.
Judd?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you very much, Chief, if you're still there.
Thank you.
I am. Okay, guys, have a great night. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Right. Okay, so we're going to have Stephanie complete her report, and then we're going to go back to number 8 on the agenda. Okay?
Yep, okay, quick, actually, the chief was just on, but we told you about this last time, but we have their names. The firefighters that completed the academy, firefighter Noah Day opened the ceremony with the national anthem. Firefighter Colin King received the Richard N. Bangs Award as the class outstanding student completing the academy with 0 demerits. Firefighter Ben Aramo was selected by instructors as class speaker for his leadership and communication skills. So that was great. Our guys did a wonderful job. Health and Human Services, Michael Seeger's last day. He oversaw the food inspections. It was this past Friday. He accepted a position in Shrewsbury. It's still regional, but yeah. So that we posted that on the town's website. Senior Center, Wednesday, October 1st, the Senior Center hosted the sold-out Elvis night, and this lady right here was a big groupie. She loved it. Yes. Yeah. No, she said it was amazing. I know you're embarrassed now, because she's like, I'm going to Mohegan Sun, he's going there now.
Not even a huge Elvis fan, but this guy was great. And it was fun that, watching everybody, it was sold out. And
Yep.
they just had so much fun. It was a great.
And I have an addition onto my admin spot, just really quickly. Jason, I'm going to have him give our certified free cash update. I just wanted you guys to hear it first, but nobody's here anymore, so I guess that's how they feel about you, Jason. Oh, Mike's back. No, I said.
We're talking about certified
Free cash, but nobody was here, so.
Oh, in that case, I'll go.
All right, well, thanks for the recognition.
Yes.
But, yeah, so like I said in the email that I sent out earlier, we don't necessarily, we filed all this paperwork and, closed the books last week and filed our paperwork with the state, and we don't necessarily know when this notification is gonna come out. Notification came out on Thursdays, which was faster than I expected. I expected it to be more like a week, so I thought we'd have more time to work on this memo, and that was the timeliness of it, because I would have liked it to have gone in your packet for tonight so that everybody could read it. But the good news is that we were certified for $5,254,050 for certified free cash. That means that's what the state has determined we are allowed to spend from our fund balance toward whatever the town appropriates money for at town meeting. And again, the source of that is called out in this memo. It's higher than we have had in the past, but we started from a higher point. So we have had year-to-year results. We had, quote, better results prior year, but in total, it's close to our results from the prior year. And let me just go through some of the key numbers that resulted in us having that balance. So we started the year with 4.6 million. We had revenues and transfers into the general fund budget of $2.7 million. We also had appropriations and budgets closing out at the end of FY25 that amounted to about $1.2 million. That's approximately $3.8 million addition. At town meeting, $3.4 million was voted for use. There's some other parts of the formula that we had a decrease in our overlay balance at the end of the year. That was about $200,000. So adding all those things together, we went up and down, and it came out at 5.254. You can follow the math in the memo. So there's some fairly detailed information here in this memo that I've given to you folks. And if you flip to the second page of the memo, it talks about the sources of revenue. And again, taxes came in just slightly under our budget, 0.59%. That's our largest source of revenue. State aid came in slightly above. Some of those state aid formulas don't always come out exactly the way they tell us they're going to be at the beginning of the year. Some of those numbers vary. So we came out 0.7% above what we budgeted for state aid. Where we have some choice about what we budget is, and can be conservative about what we set for a budget, is our local receipts. And that's where the majority of free cash on the revenue side gets generated. If you go down this list, the excise taxes, they remained strong. They were better than the prior year, so forth. $3.8 million that's our largest source of local receipts is motor vehicle excise, and that came in at $3.8 million. That was about 26% above budget. Within excise, that includes meals and rooms tax as well. That's about $500,000 of the 3.8 million. That's not all motor vehicle excise. About 500,000 is meals and rooms tax. We Had about $135,000 variance on penalties and interest on taxes. That's above budget. That's the interest that's paid on late tax bills and so forth. That's not necessarily good news, but it's good for the town that we collected revenue that factored into free cash. Let's see, what else is investment income remains strong. We've been conservative about how much we budgeted. There's a few years ago, we had about $80,000 of investment income for the year. The interest rates are higher and we have higher cash balances in the bank right now. Part of that is due to the fire station project being for 2 months anyway. We had the bond in May, but we've had a good amount of money in the bank, so we've generated decent interest income over the past year. That came in very strong at about $760,000 above budget. So that's a
nice.
Good, but warnings are that the interest rates are going to drop. So we tend to be conservative with that number. So again, like I said, a few years ago, it was down to, around $100,000. So it's varied wildly. And that's one of the more varying numbers in our within our local receipts. And then one thing I would key into as well, transfers from other funds. We transferred in, we found final disposition from FEMA, of the COVID era insurance claims that we collected where at the start of the COVID crisis where we were administering COVID vaccinations, we got the vaccinations from the state and there are vaccination clinics held. We billed people's insurance. We were unclear as part of a regional effort as well. So one thing we were unclear on, and we held it within a grant fund until we had final disposition on this, as to whether we were going to have to pay that money back to FEMA based on it being part of the regional effort. We've received word that we would not have to, and we could retain those funds. So we closed them out to the general fund this year. So a number of years passed, but that was a $534,000 windfall to the town, basically. Actually, it's about $500,000. I think there's transfers from other funds. There's closed out free cash funded capital projects in here, little residual balances in some of the capital outlay lines. So that's included in there, in that transfers from other funds as well. So that accounts for 2.7 million of the increase in free cash. Expenditure wise, as the general fund closes out at the end of the year, any unspent money in budgets reverts back to the general fund at the end of the year. And that amounted to $1.2 million. The largest piece of that was the general government segment of the budget. And to get to the specifics of that, you could look to the very detailed pages at the back, the tables. It's a various departments within that. I think a lot of this $372,000 closeout from general government is related to vacancies. For instance, if you look across the line, you see accounting closed out $47,000. That was related to there being a new position and those positions not being hired at the beginning of the fiscal year. One of them as well is, facilities closed out some $86,000 of $865,000 budget, and it's just various across the board lines that added to that. Again, like I said, it's higher, but one thing that's important about knowing the free cash number is moving into the budget season this year. The next thing we're going to do is work with the administration to develop under our financial policies a free cash plan for the upcoming budget season. And a lot of typically our free cash gets used for is funding the capital improvement plan. And as this was discussed at the financial summit over the summer, the capital requests outpace the amount of free cash that we're generating every year. So the numbers that we presented over the summer assumed that $2 million of free cash was going to go toward the capital plan. This indicates that this $5.2 million being certified indicates that maybe more would be available for that, but the, I was just looking it up because I can't remember off the top of my head, but the requests that we've put together that the general fund would be responsible for, should they fund all of the capital requests that have come through, are about $7 million. So $7 million, 200,000, 2 million or $3 million still leaves a sizable gap for the capital. So that's one thing that is going to be difficult moving through this budget season, is how we decide on and rank and prioritize capital outlays going forward. And I would just conclude, and again, I'm sorry, I didn't put together a lot of time into a presentation tonight. I just wanted to get the numbers into this memo and get it out.
Right,
to you
we don't
folks
have
as
a
soon
lot
as
of time.
possible.
We have executive
Yeah.
session.
Oh, no, I know. I'm trying to be sensitive by being short, but
No.
There's also.
Short for Jason.
Yeah.
Short for me. There's also balances certified for the enterprise funds. It's either called retained earnings or free cash too. Those terms are kind of used interchangeable for the enterprise funds, and those numbers are listed here as well. And there's not a lot. They're not that far off from what they were in the prior year. So,
For a quick report, that was pretty good.
Very
detailed.
I think I highlighted all the points that I would want to make, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to address them or come back with.
Or we could come back October 9th if I could put it on.
Well, I would say if anyone wants to look at that report,
Yeah, so
could it be available in the office or something? Or?
Yeah, my intent was to put it into the packet for the financial planning committee who are meeting on Wednesday.
Okay.
And so it'll be in their packet, that'll be on the
that'll be
webpage.
online. Okay.
Again, like I said, the timing just didn't lead to this getting into your packet for this week.
But we can send you it.
Okay, great.
You're very special.
But we don't have to vote on anything on this?
No, there's no vote.
Okay, all right. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Stephanie?
Yeah.
Finished your report?
I'm done.
Okay, so now we are back to number 8, fire station building project, discussion of bid savings. Okay, so I think at this point, we need to mention that we got a couple of emails from residents indicating that there was some confusion about information that was given about part of the project. And I think, Jacob, I'm going to turn it over to you. If there's a motion that you want to make tonight, we have acknowledged that it's our duty to sign off on any further expenditures, but I think you wanted to kind of tweak that.
Yeah, if I could, Madam Chair, maybe try to expedite this by stating my motion, and of course, if there's discussion before a vote, that would be great. But just to put it out there, and I'll try to say it clearly since it's not pre-written. So whoever records the minutes is going to want to know what the motion says. I move that the select board direct the town administrator to ensure that the bid savings of $6,469,800 is kept segregated as a separate line item in the fire station building project budget. And further, that the select board direct the town administrator that no amount of that $6,469,800 of bid savings shall be expended, contracted, committed, or otherwise encumbered without express prior authorization by the select board, which should be sought reasonably promptly as soon as any such expenses become reasonably foreseeable.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Jacob, seconded by Laura. Any discussion?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I stand by everything I said in the prior meeting. I don't have to repeat it all tonight. I watched the fire station building committee where this was discussed. My interpretation, they didn't take a vote or anything like that. My interpretation was that the committee members on the majority weren't for any change like this. I know it was brought up that the fire station building committee's charge doesn't include the word, like managing of the budget. So I don't know if an amendment to something this, rather than the motion as it is that specific, maybe just amending the charge to include managing of the budget, so overseeing the design, construction, and budget of a new fire station, just to codify that, I think it was said that they're doing that already, but it's not in the charge. I don't know if that would be some level of compromise, but, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I think I'm probably in the minority of how the vote will go, but I don't question anyone's motives, right? I assume Jacob and everybody, is coming from it from a place of good faith. I just think it's still kind of going back on what was said in the last meeting, or what I said in the last meeting, is that it just gives kind of oxygen to the sort of, insurgency is probably a strong word, but sort of every turn the fire station can do no right. That there's always at every turn seemingly a way to sort of undermine it, and I think it gives oxygen to that. I don't think that's what Jacob's trying to do. I think he's sincere from where he's coming from, but that's just my concern, and we're kind of already here, so maybe it's already damage done. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Again, it just seems like reiterating what the process already is, that money can't be forwarded or borrowed or moved forward without the town administrator and us already doing that. So it's, again, kind of a vote of no confidence in the people and the processes in place, who are, most of them are volunteers, right? I mean, we get a stipend, but they're mostly volunteers who come forward and I think, again, in good faith, are trying to do the best job that they can. And I feel like this kind of undermines that to a certain extent. So that's why I'll be a no vote on this motion, but I just wanted to explain that.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Yep, Laura?
I think this is a compromise that Jacob has made, and I know that we've all heard a lot of requests from the community to find ways to save money. And I just, if it's going to help us be a little bit more conservative, I think that this is something I would support. And I was really surprised by the reaction at the last meeting, and I thought people got something I think that we're doing to try to save money really turned into a lot of personal attacks that I don't think was necessary. I feel bad that you think this is a vote of no confidence when we are here to save money for the taxpayers. And if it means just an extra pause that we all do that, then I think we have to take those steps. So that was my thought behind it. And I hope in the future, when we do run into complicated problems, that we can be more respectful in how we all work together.
Do you have any comment?
No.
We have a comment from the public?
Oh, sorry, Jacob's got his hand up too.
Sorry? Oh. Jacob, Mitch has a comment. Would you mind?
Oh, yeah, Mitch, Mr.
Okay.
Cohen can go first.
He was halfway up here.
Yeah, I mean, my experience, board comes first. So that's up to Jacob.
He's
Well,
languishing.
mine was just very short, and maybe it might speak to, I don't know what Mr. Cohen's going to say, so I don't know if it will or not. But one of the things that I did consider and I thought about, because it's been brought up that this board would have to approve any borrowing, and I believe that's true. But my concern about that protection itself is, by the time it comes to the board to approve borrowing, it's very likely that the money will have already been committed. And we will simply be voting on, do we permit the town to pay its bills by raising the funds through borrowing? And the answer will probably be yes, because we are diligent and pay our bills, of course. And, you know, to support that, I know that we entered a contract with the general contractor in one of the last weeks of March of this year, but it wasn't until a few weeks later in April that the select board voted to approve the bond sale that our finance director had overseen and done a good job of. And so my point is at that point of approving the bond, there was no way the board could have said no. The expenditure had already been committed. And so this is a little different in saying we would like to make sure we're seeing where a commitment is being made that would tap into the 6.5 million. It's not to say we would say no to it. It's just that we'd like to be on the front end of that process. I would like to be. And so far I haven't seen that happening. That's all.
Madam Chair, just one thing, I mean, and I think that's right, that's why Jacob's there on the Fire Station Building Committee, right? If he sees something or sees an expense or something that he doesn't agree with, you know, as he did, bring it up to that committee, and then as the liaison, bring it to the select board. So I would think with Jacob there representing us, that we would know these things before, I think we would certainly know these things before it just came to you know, well, you have to approve it because we've already signed the contract type thing, that we would have that additional heads up, which is why the board has liaisons to these very important and expensive building projects, but.
But you only meet once a month, right? Did the fire station committee meet once a month?
That's correct so far.
Okay. So things can happen. Okay, let's
Thank
go
you.
to the public.
Hi, Mitch Cohen, 12 Whitney Street. This discussion was somehow predicated on the idea that, well, there's so much extra money because of the bid savings, people will want to spend it. I have worked on a lot of municipal construction projects, another fire station, a few schools, school renovation, expansion of buildings. Never happens. There's a lot of scope creep that can occur before design or during the design process and before town meeting approval. I've never seen scope creep occur after the contract is signed and after town meeting has occurred. The worry that this seems to be predicated on is not a worry that anyone should have. This motion, frankly, is very familiar to me because I had emailed it to Jacob as the thing that I would have proposed if the building committee did not want to segregate the bid savings funds. The building committee immediately segregated the bid savings funds. This motion doesn't actually do anything, but it says everything. It says you don't trust the people involved in the process. The building committee has no contract signing authority. The only person that can sign a contract for a scope change or anything else is your town administrator. That's the person you look to for this type of protection. This absolutely positively says you don't trust the people involved, and you shouldn't do that. You have all the authority in the world with the $31.5 million. There will be a second bond. That's always been part of the process. What's it going to be? You don't know. You can get updates every meeting from your representative on the building committee. You should get updates from your town administrator. If you're concerned about anything else, the first step, you send your town administrator to the meetings. And be that extra eye there. Doing this just says you don't trust the fire chief, you don't trust the building committee that's been at this, some of them since 2017. You don't trust your town administrator, you don't trust your finance director. This is bad, bad business, and I hope you don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. I think there's such a blur all the time lately, in the past few years, that committees that are appointed by the administrator through the pleasure of the select board have their purpose, what they're supposed to do. And lately, these purposes have been getting blurred. That select board is the fiduciary, the responsible, buck stops here. And I don't think that asking to have that kind of awareness, that it's the select board's privy to do this. I certainly don't think putting an amendment to a committee that's already been in there for quite some time to cover their decision-making is a good idea. I think that we have to remember that the select board is at the top, next to the top of the order to the residents, and that the residents speak to the board and ask the board to do things that they notice, that they find difficult, either financially or the product that you get. I don't think this has anything to do with people accusing anybody else of bad behavior, of being untrusted, of just, oh, I'm so insulted that you would even say this. It's just matter-of-fact information. And that it should stay the way it is. We have such a blur with everything now that I think we need to pull back and say the Board of Selectmen is the fiduciary top. And that when it comes to how other committees are run and what they do, it should have some sense of staying within their purview of what's been already designated. So if you took $6 million and you added it to the already $3 million that's there in a contingency fund, you're asking to be able to have $9 million worth of contingency. And we should hope that that would never be the case. And as they've stated, that would never be the case, and they would be more than happy to remove it. I think we should take them up on that. And I think that we need cooler heads. I think the constant name calling and things that happened even at this last meeting that I was going to get up, but didn't know how to handle that with the name calling that went on, which was totally inappropriate from two financial planning members. I think that you're on the right track and that you should remember that the general public is not looking at this as not trusting the building, fire station building committee. I think they're just looking at it as checks and balances. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any comments? Yeah. Well,
I would just say.
Oh, sorry, after you.
I would just say the checks and balances already exist without this motion.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I'm just going to say that we've got a lot of belt tightening coming up around the board. And if this is going to mean we're going to need to get more, we need to save money. And maybe there's going to be other things at other committee levels, but we have to tighten our belts across the board.
I think we can take the emotion out of it. I mean, for me, I just listened, a newbie, and I was, it was interesting how much emotion was driven in this conversation when I think practically speaking, mechanically speaking, there's not a big difference. We waste so much time on things that aren't a big difference, that if we did it to the things that made a big difference, we can make real impact in this town. So it's probably learning that for us. Thank you, Jacob, for bringing this forward. I think it's the right thing to do, unemotionally, and I don't think it's going to harm the way the committee works. I think it's just all about accountability and transparency, and I appreciate getting us to this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would tend to agree, and I'm sorry that trust and emotion came into the conversation. But for me personally, the part I like best about this is being apprised of things well before we have to make a vote. So there is a motion on the table. It was seconded. Any further discussion? We'll take a vote, and we'll start with Laura.
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Mike?
No.
Jacob?
Yes, aye.
And I vote aye. The motion has passed. So thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda, board's public comment. Thanks, Mitch. Lisa? And Pat, you'll let us know if anybody is, okay, thanks.
Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. And on that note, I wanted to discuss something that I watched at another meeting, which was at the Financial Planning Committee, the last meeting that they had on September 25th. Their agenda showed a liaison to the Master Plan Implementation Committee and liaison reports from the Fire Station Building Committee and the Peaslee School Building Committee. I'm getting concerned, as I said earlier, that there are committees that are not staying within their purview. The Financial Planning Committee has clearly shown this just by their agenda. Now, they chose not to vote for it. They wanted to wait until they had enough of a member to create, I would imagine, a vote in the favor of having liaisons. But the Financial Planning Committee, and it says on Chapter 152, that membership eligibility, the Financial Planning Committee shall consist of 6 members and exercise its power pursuant to the Charter and this code. No elected or appointed town officer or town employee or member of any town committee or any regional or district entity which the town is a member shall be eligible to serve on this committee. Basically what it says is, if you're on the financial planning, you will be on no other committee. There's nothing in the charter that says that you can create your own liaisons on that committee, which is a big question that we've had back and forth with the chairman of the financial planning being on the Fire Station Building Committee after it was found out that this language was in our charter. So whether if we can't keep people to what they're supposed to be doing, then go back to the charter and change it. Do the charter change first. Don't try to be doing it all on your own because you think nobody's watching or that you can get away with it. Because that's why we have a charter. Unless you want to just not use the charter at all. But it's been bantied about since this happened last year, and I think it's about time that there are committees that are deciding to make subcommittees and everything else without that being part of their purview, and I think it really should stop. Thank you.
I hear your argument, and I would assume that this is not advisable for the Financial Planning Committee to have liaisons to certain committees. Especially, and I've
Well, I mean, see, this is where it's hard for me because I feel like the more you know, sometimes that's where we have our joint meetings because anything that's attached to capital or, anything over 25,000 is kind of in their wheelhouse. So it depends what it is.
But right now, I think we have to discuss process.
Yeah.
Is the process that a committee, the Financial Planning Committee, can say, we're going to create liaisons, or does it have to go back to changing the charter?
I can answer that.
Okay. Come on up.
Of course, I was sitting in your seat when the question came up as to whether the chair of financial planning could serve on the Fire Station Building Committee. He was a voting member. That was an error that was made some number of years ago. He corrected that error by resigning. And the question came up, could he serve as a liaison? And we sought town council advice, and town council said, absolutely. Liaison's a non-voting person. He's just there. The chair of the Fire Station Building Committee opts to have him come up to the table. I think that's worked very well. And it's worked so well that on the Peaslee Building Committee, exactly the same thing occurred. And I think it's a really good process to have in place. There's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing wrong about it. Matter of fact, I think there's everything right about it.
What's the practical difference of just going there as a resident and attending the meetings and learning versus a non-voting liaison?
The advantage is that the non-voting liaison participates in a non-voting way, which in the case of the Peaslee Building Committee, there are quite a number of people that participate in non-voting ways. The superintendent, school principal, school finance director, et cetera. So there are, in most projects, there are non-voting members that participate and provide input and so forth, and it provides that extra conduit between the financial planning committee and that particular building committee. I think it's very valuable for both.
And it's not misconstrued information, I mean, at least they're at a meeting and they're getting, the right information back to their committee. I mean, it could.
And I see that viewpoint, but I also see that when I'm, when I'm a liaison,
Opinion?
You kind of, you're in the weeds with them and you want to help them and promote them. And I think this is a discussion that needs to happen, but not tonight.
Right.
And we're going to discuss our goals. This is almost with our goals and how separate we want to keep these committees, because one of our big goals from everyone is finance. So, yeah, thank you for bringing this up.
I just want to say one more thing, that this is a copy of a letter that was written by council to us, or to the chairman, now actually to the town administrator at the time. In my opinion, following my review of the applicable provisions of the charter, especially with respect to the administrator's authority to establish and appoint committee members on building facilities committees having to do with the preparation of plans and supervision of work on all construction, reconstruction, alterations, improvement, and other undertakings authorized by the town, members of the Fire Station Building Committee are members of a town committee, and as such, given the prohibition in the charter that members of the Financial Planning Committee cannot work on any other town committee. If there is a member of the Fire Station Building Committee on Financial Planning Committee, they would have to resign from the Building Committee to continue their service on the Financial Planning Committee. Let me know if I have any more. And that says, thank you, Brian. And there was another, it's from Mitch, and he says, I forwarded council's opinion late yesterday. This is all he sent me. And now we hear that perhaps he sent some information on liaisons, which the board never saw. So I'd like to see that, because we never saw anything about liaisons, not when I was on the board.
Okay.
We just talked about maybe changing the tone and going down a different path. This kind of look back just, and I'm not being specific to Lisa, just in general, it just comes off, in other instances too, as like score settling, and just looking back to get over or to settle a score. What does it, I mean, yes, we could have a discussion about our committees, what they're doing, are they staying within scope? I think that's certainly important. Is there value in committees communicating? Absolutely. You want to make sure it's done in a coherent and way that there isn't collusion, if you want to call it that. But right, we don't want everybody in a silo. But I mean, this kind of looking back and arguing about whether the Financial Planning Committee chair should have been there, should not have been, what happened, here's an email. I mean, we could discuss this at a later date. I just, I don't know where this is getting us.
Well, I think what we have to do is establish what was the rationale for in the charter that someone said and the whole town agreed that Financial Planning Committee is not going to serve on any other committee. We have to discuss, what, is that a good policy still? And that's, like I said, I think we should spend some time on that at another meeting, if you all agree.
I agree.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Mitch? Oh, yeah, you didn't.
Related public comment.
Okay.
Mitch going to Pleasant Street. Very briefly, what happened to the public comment at the beginning of the agenda?
Yeah, I missed it. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
All right, so it was not an intentional agenda change?
No.
The format isn't changing. That's fine. It's not on there. My worry.
should have been.
My
Sorry.
worry is that there was some change made. I'm glad to hear there wasn't. That's all.
Well, thank you for
Okay,
pointing that out.
sure.
Yes, I feel bad. Okay. All right, so, all right. Now, we have the comment, future agenda items, any other business to come before the board. So let's combine, if anybody has any future agenda items or any other business to come before the board. Anybody have anything?
Jacob does.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I know we're late and we still got executive session to go into, but I want to, I'm trying to really be transparent here. So without kind of wanting to get into it a whole lot, I had some pretty big concerns that kind of showed themselves at the last Wednesday meeting. I would like to put it in a future agenda item for an executive session that we consider seeking legal advice with respect to options the town may have respecting the contamination situation. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Can we,
I just have to double check if it's part of the criteria for executive session. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It might have to be public session, but we'll see if it meets the criteria.
Sure, and if we have to do it open, that's okay too. I'm just thinking the process of seeking legal advice is attorney-client privileged, so. Anyway, open or executive, whatever is the appropriate answer to that. I don't want to dwell on this. I appreciate Mike's point. I'm not looking to look backward, but I am looking to protecting the town. And if there's a window during which there's a way we can protect the town, whether it's maybe there's a way to get state or federal money involved because of things the DEP did. I don't know. I don't know where, but I know that the town was told there's no contamination and we're spending potentially $2 million on removing contamination. So I would not be doing my job, I feel like, if I didn't, together with the board, try to explore options. That's what I'm getting at.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, thank you.
Okay. At this time, the board will enter into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, a tax increment financing agreement with Saint-Gobain, and the White Cliffs rental agreement, as an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the town's negotiating position. We will also be approving prior executive session minutes. The board will adjourn from executive session and will not return to open session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mike.
Second.
By Laura. Moved and seconded. Roll call vote. Jacob.
Yes.
John.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
And I vote aye. And so we will figure out how to do the Zoom. I think you have to get out, Jacob, and come into another meeting.
Yes,
Well,
I do have.